Pokémon. Starting with Greninja. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 400, New Duel Mode. I will tell you the school's opinion this time. Please pay attention to the school network tomorrow. There will be complete rules for the duel mode. After talking about the duel mode, Zumu returned the microphone to Leolun and walked off the stage. On the way back to his seat, the admiring eyes of the people around him kept flowing on Zumu. What should be said is that Zumu is awesome and will not accept any rebuttal. The next day, the official website of Magic City College, announcement. In view of the college reform, Magic City College has added a duel mode. Starting today, freshmen can challenge seniors to a duel, and the winner will receive 1 month's credit resources from the senior. In addition, every senior must accept at least one duel every semester, otherwise they will not be able to participate in the final examination. Don't think about playing a fake game. The teachers in the supervision department are not idiots. Suddenly, there was a cry of grief among the seniors. I'm already a senior. I'm about to graduate. The college really doesn't want me to graduate. Well, you told me I was a freshman and there were lots of activities, but now I'm a senior. You're making trouble for me. Isn't it a waste of my senior year? Seniors, we'd better be better. You're seniors, and you don't have anything else to do anyway, so just enjoy your time at school. Shut up upstairs. Don't you dare give me your student number. I'm going to duel with you. Just wait and see how I beat you until you cry. Ha ha ha. Thank you for your concern, senior. What a pity. I'm only a junior. There's no way I can duel. As soon as the notice came out, there was an immediate smell of gunpowder between the freshmen and seniors. The freshmen don't want to be looked down upon by the seniors. The seniors are not as arrogant as the freshmen. At this moment a post appeared. It completely ignited the war between the freshmen and seniors. Little Liu Xiao in Magic City. I heard that the seniors in the 4th year are very arrogant. I am Liu Xiao among the freshmen. This time I will compete for the first place in the top 100 list. If you know what's good for you, just wash your neck and wait for me. Liu Xiao's words attracted a lot of attention. Among the top 100, Koga Ninja. Boy, don't be so arrogant just because you competed for a championship. After all, we are your seniors. Little Liu Xiao in Magic City. I am arrogant, but you are not worthy of me talking to you normally. No more words. This time I want to compete for the first place in the top 100. Welcome all seniors to come and support me. No need to guess. This Liu Xiao is the little fat man Liu Xiao. After the duel mode was updated this time, he immediately stated that he would compete for the first place in the top 100 list. Zumu looked down on this broken list, so as Zumu's younger brother, Liu Xiao thought he had to help Zumu get the first place. After all, he recognized Zumu and wanted to mix with Zumu, so when necessary, he should also show some real strength. Because of his post, the seniors in the senior year were going crazy. In an internal group among the seniors, if others saw it, they would be surprised to find that all the people in it were from the top 100 seniors. Killing the top 100, brothers, you have seen it. I don't know what's wrong with the academy. They have to pamper this group of freshmen. The little overlord of Magic City, need I say more? He won a championship. He must be so inflated. He doesn't take his seniors seriously anymore. I am the Demon King. In that case, let's teach our juniors what the real top 100 is. Otherwise, they won't know what level they are at when they go out. It's a disgrace to our Magic City Academy. Killing the top 100. What the Demon King said is right. Since he wants to compete for the top 100, let's teach him a lesson. The little overlord of Magic City. Then let Wang Hua take action. After all, Wang Hua has the lowest position among us, and that Liu Xiao is not worthy of fighting with us. I am the Demon King. Yeah, it's enough for Wang Hua to go up. He is not worthy of us taking action now. Magic City Academy Network. The little overlord of Magic City, Liu Xiao, right? I heard that you wanted to compete for the top 100 list. I'm sorry to embarrass you. After all, if you embarrass yourself, It will be a disgrace to our college. If you must go, then I'm sorry. We will teach you a lesson. Go find Wang Hu. He is the last person ranked in the top 100 list. You can't even beat him. You are not worthy to talk to us. The crowd of onlookers below. What's going on? What's going on? Our seniors are on the top 100 list. I'm ignorant. Can you tell me who Wang Hua is? It seems that you are still a junior. Wang Hua is our senior and is now ranked 90th in the top 100 list. Is it so fierce? It seems that there will be another fight between dragons and tigers. Don't say it's a fight between dragons and tigers. In my opinion, this is a crushing situation. I don't believe that the freshman Liu Xiao can beat it. Stop talking. Go and see. Liu Xiao is going to duel with Wang Hu. What? So exciting? Come on. Come on. Go and watch the fun. In an instant, the campus network suddenly calmed down. In front of the senior dormitory, Liu Xiao stood in front of the building. He closed his eyes and said nothing. He was surrounded by people. They all wanted to see what kind of person this legendary Liu Xiao was. I heard that Liu Xiao was also a figure in the freshman competition. He crushed the whole team competition and finally won the championship with everyone as the top 3 main players of the team. In the individual competition, he was even in the top 10 in the world. His fame was also heard a little. At this time, a man in a windbreaker and sunglasses walked out of the dormitory building. He is Wang Hu, an NPC with a name, the 90th on the top 100 list. He is indeed a ruthless person. Although his ranking in the top 100 list is not high, it is also earned bit by his own ability. Wang Hu walked up to Liu Xiao and said indifferently, "You are Liu Xiao, right? I don't know what you are thinking. Why do you have to fight with me? Actually, I also want to fight with you and teach you a lesson, but the problem is that you are not worthy of it. Little brother, if you want to challenge me, you should step onto the top 100 list first." After saying this, Wang Hu turned and left. Liu Xiao stared blankly at Wang Hu as receding back, without saying a word, and didn't want to say a word. Well, there are so many people who can pretend to be cool now. It seems that our Magic City College is indeed full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The people watching the excitement around saw this scene and burst into laughter instantly. Ridiculous freshman, he came to duel with others without stopping, but the other party didn't even want to talk to him. The campus network that had just been quiet became lively again in an instant. Chapter 401, Defeat me and I'll give you these 200 million. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. The freshmen of this year are so cute. They took the initiative to challenge me, but after meeting each other, I still don't want to fight with them. Yeah, if it were me, I would have found a hole in the ground to crawl into. It's so embarrassing. A bunch of ignorant people. You don't know what Liu Xiao's strength is, and you are all showing off here. Oh, what's his strength? His strength is not worthy of Wang Hu to fight. Right. Don't bully the freshman upstairs. Ah ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Is it okay if he doesn't deserve to fight? It's the worst to come to ask for a scolding. Little Liu Xiao of Magic City, Wang Hu, since you feel we can't fight, then let's not fight. In fact, I also think Wang Hua is not worthy of fighting me. Liu Chen, let's have a duel tomorrow. I want to take back the first place in the top 100 list that belongs to me. After being rejected, Liu Xiao directly used his big move this time. He left this sentence on the internet and directly challenged the number 1 in the top 100 list of Magic City College, Liu Chen. As expected, Liu Xiao's words were followed by a barrage of questions. Am I seeing this right? Liu Xiao, he wants to challenge Liu Chen. It seems that I am not seeing this right. Is Liu Chen the big guy mentioned before? The number 1 on our top 100 list. That's the man who was admitted to our school with the highest score in the continent and has not lost a single game in 4 years. Little Liu Xiao of Magic City, Liu Chen, don't be scared. Come on, show your face. Let's play for 200 million alliance coins. Aren't you sure of winning? If you don't agree, come out and try it. A lot? How much? 200 million. I've never seen so much money in my life. Is this the charm of being the number 1 on the top 100 list? You can make money even if you lie down. I am Liu Chen. Okay, since you want to give me money so much, I'll take it. Although Liu Chen is the #1 on the top 100 list, he doesn't have so much money all at once. In his opinion, this Liu Xiao is here to give him money. He made 200 million easily. Where can I find such a good thing? Little Liu Xiao of Magic City. See you tomorrow at the duel arena. I am Liu Chen. Okay, since you can't wait to give me money, I'll take it. The conversation between the two ended, and the crowd below continued to eat melons. Oh my god, this Liu Xiao is really stupid and rich. Who said it wasn't? For a duel, he has to take out 200 million. I really give up. Is this the world of rich people? Or else it's still a newborn calf that is not afraid of tigers. Just got the first place and really thought he was the best in the world. You guys are really enough. You are crazy here before the fight even starts. It's not clear who will win or lose. Is there any guessing? It must be Liu Chen. I bet on Liu Xiao, and I bet all my wife's money on Liu Chen. Tonight's Magic City Academy is destined to be extraordinary. Late at night, Liu Xiao was staring at his phone in a daze. He was scolded all day, and he was actually a little unhappy. After all, no one is a god. They are all born by their mothers and raised by their fathers. Who is destined to be scolded when they are born? It is normal to feel uncomfortable after being scolded. Suddenly, he received a message, and when he saw the words on the phone, he suddenly laughed. The person who sent the message was Zhu Mu, and there were 2 words on the phone. Fuck him. Seeing the words on the phone, Liu Xiao let out a long breath and slowly put away the phone. He needs to have a good rest for tomorrow's battle. He can't embarrass Zhu Mu. As for the online scolding war, he ignored it. They are just a bunch of jumping clowns. He will show these people his strength tomorrow. No matter who it is, he and Snorlax will defeat the enemy with 1 punch. The next day, the duel field of Magic City Academy. Liu Chen stood in the duel field, waiting bored. Yesterday he agreed to a duel with Liu Xiao, and today he couldn't wait to rush over. Not being active and making money. There is something wrong with his thinking. But he has been here for half an hour. Why hasn't the legendary money-giving boy Liu Xiao appeared? At this time, there was also a lot of discussion in the audience. Why hasn't Liu Xiao come yet? Is he scared? Not really. He was very arrogant on the internet yesterday. Can you guys stop talking? Liu Xiao may have something urgent to do. Oh my god, you kid, are you dissatisfied? Let's go. If you don't accept it, let's duel. Damn it, who the hell is afraid of you? Let's go. You guys have really explosive tempers, but I like. At this moment, a man came through the crowd. Seeing him, the dense crowd involuntarily made way for him. This man was Liu Xiao. Liu Xiao walked towards the duel stage step by step. His short and fat body was very steady. Liu Chen was very angry when he saw Liu Xiao, and said in a stiff tone, "Junior brother Liu Xiao, don't you know that it is very impolite to make others wait?" Liu Xiao glanced at him indifferently and said casually, "I am just like this. I treat people differently. If it is someone who deserves respect, I will definitely arrive early, but if it is someone who does not deserve respect, then I am sorry, you wait." It was unfortunate today. When I came, I met an old lady crossing the road. I helped her by the way, and then I was late. What? Do you have any objections? With the blessing of Zhu Mu's text message, Liu Xiao was obviously pretending. After all, I am also the first on the top 100 list. I took time out of my busy schedule to duel with you. Although you are bound to lose, you will also be very proud to fight with me. Boy, who are you saying is not important? At this time, the mocking voices from the audience also came up. Liu Xiao, are you good enough? Do you want to fight or not? Yes, this group of people are here to play with you. Have you had enough fun? If you have had enough fun, pay the money and go back to the dormitory. The dignity of a senior year is not something you freshmen can shake. Go home, little brother. At this time, Liu Xiao didn't even open his eyes to look at them. In his eyes, this group of people are just jumping clowns, trolls, just ignore them. Liu Xiao said to Liu Chen, "Senior Liu Chen, I am Liu Xiao, and I am here to learn from you, but before the fight begins, do we have to sign an agreement?" "Agreement? What agreement?" Liu Xiao said with disdain. "I took 200 million alliance coins to bet with you. If I lose, The 200 million will be yours, but what if you lose? What are you betting with me? Liu Chen suddenly felt funny when he heard Liu Shao's words. Liu Chen smiled and said, "Okay, if I lose, I will kneel down and call you dad 3 times. Liu Shao smiled at this time. Once a word is spoken, it cannot be taken back. Senior, you must keep your word. Chapter 402, Senior, follow the rules. Seeing Liu Shao's smile, Liu Chen couldn't help but feel a little funny. He is really a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers, not to mention a freshman who has not even made it to the top 100 list. He actually wanted to challenge the top 100 list and bet with me. Are you crazy? I really don't know what's wrong with his brain. However, Liu Chen is not a person who takes money and does nothing. After thinking about it, Liu Chen smiled and said to Liu Shao, "Okay, Junior, since you insist on being beaten, Senior can't help but help you, then show your Pokémon. We agreed in advance that you are voluntarily challenging me. Don't tell others that I bullied you when you can't beat me. After all, you asked for it." As soon as the voice fell, Liu Chen summoned his Pokémon. His Pokémon is Karos, and it is this Karos that accompanied Liu Chen all the way to the top 100 list. Seeing Liu Chen release the Pokémon, Liu Shao slapped the Pokeball on his waist and released Snorlax. Snorlax's appearance was absolutely grand, and the ground was shaken like an earthquake. The teacher, who was a part-time referee, couldn't stand it any longer. Seeing the two release their own else, he quickly announced the start of the game and then stepped aside. When the game started, Liu Shao quickly entered the state and directly ordered, "Snorlax, billion-ton impact." Snorlax was definitely not polite. He roared immediately, his whole body shining with white light, and rushed towards Karos. In just a moment, Karos didn't even have time to dodge and was knocked out of the duel field. Liu Chen was dumbfounded at this time. Not only him, but also the people off the field were dumbfounded. Is this a duel? Is this the first on the top 100 list? That's it? It seems that I can do it too. Isn't it said that the first on the top 100 list is old and cowhide? Lost just like that? Then, there was a cheer from the field. No need to guess, the cheers were almost all from the freshmen, because they already knew Liu Shao's strength. Snorlax, who is the king of strength, has been waiting for so long just for this scene. If not cheering now, when will it be? As partners who had fought together in the freshman competition, they had always stood firmly on Liu Shao's side, but because they were too few in number, their speeches were often suppressed and could not be heard. However, they had never thought that Liu Shao would lose. They had been holding back their energy for the whole day, just for this moment of cheering. Liu Shao did use his strength to tell them that he had lived up to his family's high hopes for him. It should be said that this feeling of pretending to be awesome and getting slapped in the face was really cool. No wonder Zumu liked it. He looked at Liu Chen, who was still in a state of delusion. Again, "Senior Liu Chen, is that all? The number 1 on the top 100 list is just this strength?" After mocking his opponent, Liu Shao smiled contemptuously. "Come on, Senior, follow the rules." Liu Chen just reacted at this time. He looked at his Karos, who was now fainting on the ground with his eyes circling, and had lost his ability to fight. He almost said in an unbelievable tone, I actually lost?" Liu Shao smiled calmly. "Yes, Senior, you lost. Come on, start to follow the rules. What are you waiting for? Everyone is watching. Come on, show it." At this time, Liu Chen reacted, blushed, and shouted loudly, "No. It's impossible. You must have used some unpresentable means. I don't accept it." Hearing Liu Chen's words, Liu Shao's face instantly turned cold. "What do you mean, Senior? Can't you afford to lose?" Liu Chen's face looked a little ugly when he heard Liu Shao's words. He looked at Liu Shao's arrogant face, and then looked at the mocking faces of the people off the court. Now he looked so helpless. Liu Chen has never failed since he stepped into the road of trainers to the top of the top 100 list. I don't know how many people he stepped on to get to this point today, but today, he actually failed. And he lost to a freshman. This made Liu Chen feel frustrated and even hard to accept. What he found most difficult to accept was the agreement he had just made with Liu Shao. If he lost, he had to call him dad 3 times. Liu Shao, who had been standing opposite him, looked at him quietly with a teasing smile on his face. Senior, don't forget the agreement you owe me. After hearing Liu Shao's words, Liu Chen felt greatly humiliated. His face flushed, and he shouted to Liu Shao, I said, I don't accept it. I want to compete again. At this time, Liu Chen didn't know that he was like a clown, for Liu Shao to watch at will. The more he refused to accept it, the more comfortable Liu Shao felt. However, it was cool, but he couldn't let him be so presumptuous. Liu Shao rushed over and kicked Liu Chen on the knee. Liu Chen, who was not prepared, fell to his knees. Just when he was about to make a ruthless move, a roar came from his ear, stop it! Everyone looked carefully and saw a middle-aged man striding over. He rushed to the duel field and pulled Liu Chen up from the ground. He said to Liu Shao, a duel is a duel. Why are you attacking a trainer? The school notice clearly states it. A duel is limited to a duel between Pokémons. Don't you take the Academy's rules seriously? The sudden appearance of this middle-aged man made everyone a little confused. The seniors who knew him began to explain to the freshmen. This man is called Liu Wei. He is the dean of our academy and Liu Chen's uncle. Yes, I remember now. This guy always likes to catch students. It's over. This time Liu Shao has offended him. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to talk to him. Liu Wei in the duel field could also hear these words. He didn't feel dissatisfied. On the contrary, he felt a sense of accomplishment. For him, nothing could be more fun than catching students' pigtails. The student in front of him actually dared to offend his nephew. How interesting. Liu Wei continued to say to Liu Shao, I know you are the champion Chengyun of the freshman exchange competition. I don't want to say anything about you anymore. Okay, go back. Let's leave it at that for today. I'll come back to find your instructor if there's anything later. When Liu Shao heard what Liu Wei said, his eyes narrowed immediately. He looked at Liu Wei indifferently and didn't say anything. Well, you're doing this to me, Mr. Liu? I don't know what I learned from my big brother Zoomu. It's really interesting. Liu Wei saw that Liu Shao was just looking at him and didn't say anything. Suddenly, the fire in his heart burned up. He originally wanted to get Liu Chen out first, and then talk about Liu Shao's affairs. But seeing that Liu Shao was so ungrateful, where would he put his face as the dean of teaching? Then Liu Shao scolded, You, student, don't you understand what I'm saying? You don't want to leave, right? Then you just stand here and don't go anywhere. At this time, a voice came from the sidelines. Oh, Director Liu, you have such a great official power. You really deserve it. Chapter 403, New Dungeon World. When Liu Wei heard this, he instinctively wanted to curse. How come there is another ungrateful person? But why does this voice sound so familiar? Thinking in his heart, Liu Wei glanced in the direction where the voice came from. It didn't matter that he looked at it. The person who came was Zoomu. At the same time, Liu Shao on the side also saw Zoomu. In an instant, the joy in his heart was expressed on his face. Zoomu originally wanted to see how Liu Shao's duel was, but he didn't expect to encounter his favorite drama here. You Wei are awesome, right? Sorry, it doesn't work here. So, seeing the process of Liu Shao being pressed step by step by Liu Wei, Zoomu laughed directly from a distance. It's really what you think. At the end of the story, the villain is always so difficult to find. It's really too difficult to find a qualified villain to bully. This thing has to be tried and depends on luck, isn't it here? I'm lucky today. At this time, Liu Wei was dumbfounded. How could he not know Zoomu? Zoomu is the future world leader. It's not an exaggeration to say that he is the emperor of mankind. Who doesn't know him? In Magic City College, it's understandable if you say you don't know the dean, but you say you don't know Zoomu. Sorry, we can't be friends. My mother doesn't let me play with fools. At this time, Liu Wei hurriedly looked at Zoomu with a smile on his face, and said to Zoomu, Mr. Zhu, how come you have time to take a walk today? Why didn't you tell us so that I can help you evacuate the crowd and make the air here fresher? The people in the audience couldn't help but feel a little funny when they saw Liu Wei at this time. No matter how powerful and awesome you are in the college, Liu Wei, you still have to act like a grandson in front of Zoomu. But it should be said that in the dull college life, there are really not many scenes like the dean of teaching being slapped in the face. Zoomu stood and looked at him for a long time, then slowly said, Director Liu, Please don't be like this. You are so powerful. Are you a little angry recently? Do you need me to help you calm down? I am just a student. Don't be polite to me. I am so flattered. Yue was frightened and broke out in a cold sweat when he heard Zumu's words. He could still tell the difference between positive and negative words. This Zumu has been arrogant since his debut. Now he is suddenly like this. It is obvious that he is going to be used against him. This is not okay. He has been in this position for so long, and he knows how much money this position has. If he is taken down, who knows how uncomfortable he will be. The most important thing now is to talk to Zumu in a good way. At this time, he saw his nephew standing aside stupidly, and immediately a plan came to his mind. He rushed forward and slapped Liu Chen to the ground with a slap. Liu Chen was also a little confused at this time. He didn't say anything. He didn't even open his mouth, and he was slapped. It really is snowing in June, so unfair. He looked at Liu with a confused face and asked in confusion, "Uncle, why did you hit me?" After hearing Liu Chen's words, Yue's evil fire in his heart became even stronger. It was not a big deal, but this beastly nephew insisted on showing off. This time, he made things worse again. He should be sitting in the office, drinking tea, and talking to those bad, rich, and well-off students. But now, he can only pretend to be Zumu's grandson here, and he pretended to be this grandson himself. "Why should I hit you?" "I hit you? Don't you know it?" Looking at the two people in front of him biting each other, Zumu was really helpless. Zumu said helplessly to Liu, "Since you insist on taking care of this matter, then just do it to the end. Don't be the dean of studies for now. Go home and educate your nephew." After hearing Zumu's words, Yue suddenly collapsed on the ground. He also understood in his heart that the official hat on his head had been thrown away. The people in the audience only saw Yue suddenly fall beside Zumu's legs, hugging Zumu's legs, and started crying. A man in his 40s, the tears just flowed, without any hesitation, begging for mercy loudly. Master Zhu, please, don't dismiss me, I will be fine in the future." But Zumu didn't even look at him, and turned to the crowd below the stage and said, "I have made it very clear, from now on, everything on the duel field will be discussed on the duel field. Don't be too embarrassed to lose. If you can't lose in the future, come to me. I will take care of what the college can do, and I can also take care of what the college can't do. Winning or losing depends on strength. Don't play tricks here." Zumu said this with a stern face, and then walked down the duel field alone. Liu Xiao behind him watched Zumu walk down the duel field, and he hurriedly followed him. Only Liu Chen and Liu, who were slumped on the duel field, were left looking at each other. "Boss, please stay." Liu Xiao, who had been following Zumu, finally found an opportunity and called Zumu. At this time, he had something to discuss with Zumu. Hearing Liu Xiao calling him, Zumu also stopped, turned around, and looked at Liu Xiao. "What's wrong, little Shuozi?" Zumu said with a smile. "Boss, I didn't embarrass you today, did I? I can also say that I am the number one in the top 100 list in the future." Liu Xiao's words made Zumu want to play a trick on him. "Liu Xiao, I'm not saying anything bad about you. Although you have defeated the number one in the top 100 list, there is still a big gap between you and the real strong ones." Zumu's words made Liu Xiao stunned. Zumu looked at Liu Xiao's face with disappointment, so he walked in front of Liu Xiao, stretched out his hand and patted Liu Xiao on the shoulder. "I was joking just now. You are already very good. At this age, you are already a genius picked out of a million. Don't lose confidence." Zumu's words made Liu Xiao regain his confidence again. He looked at Zumu with a firm look in his eyes. He said to Zumu firmly, "I understand. I won't compete with you, boss. After all, I am a genius and you are a monster." Looking at Liu Xiao's expression, Zumu smiled helplessly and said no more. Liu Xiao looked at Zumu's back and gradually lost his mind. I remember that Zumu was a shy boy who allowed himself to be joked. Since the time he dropped out of school, this guy has completely changed. Perhaps, this is the enlightenment. When can I also be enlightened? Liu Xiao glanced at the bricks on the ground and thought with his head down. Zumu, who left Liu Xiao, wandered around the academy aimlessly. Now that the competition is over, He has nothing to do. At this time, he really hopes that the system can give him a task to play. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the dungeon task. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 404, Lugia's Explosion. Host, please go to the movie world Lugia's Birth. Task Reward, Arceus Slate 3. Damn, dog system, you are so good. You can get whatever you want. You say you didn't monitor me again? You say you have no intelligence? Ding. Please don't misunderstand. It's just a coincidence. Zumu laughed. Damn, you can talk now. But Zumu was too lazy to pay attention to this guy. Anyway, the dog system didn't have any bad intentions, so he didn't talk to him for the time being. Since the system is alive, let's get busy first. It's just that I'm idle, and those few good-for-nothings at home should go out for exercise. Thinking about it, Zumu slowly said, System, enter the dungeon. Ding. Prepare to enter the movie world Lugia's Birth. Host, please get ready. Zumu thought silently in his heart and confirmed to enter. He only felt dizzy in front of his eyes, and he came directly to a strange place. Just after falling to the ground, a lightning bolt rushed straight at him, scaring Zumu. Fortunately, the lilas on his shoulder helped him use protection, which gave Zumu some time to use his superpowers to teleport a short distance and avoid the sudden attack of lightning. After avoiding the attack, Zumu raised his head with a curse. He saw a giant flying saucer in the sky, fighting with a lightning bird. At this moment, several square iron rings flew out of the flying saucer, two of which flew straight towards Zumu. Although Zumu didn't remember the general plot of the movie, he also knew that these two iron rings were actually two capturers. Not long ago, these two things captured the fire god Malters. Now the owner of this flying saucer still wants to capture the lightning bird. However, what Zumu didn't understand was why this capturer came towards him. Zumu didn't understand, and the author didn't understand either. The setting in this movie world is extremely problematic. In this world, the three divine birds with extremely high combat power are obviously outrageously strong, much more than the ordinary three divine birds, but they are still caught casually. What's even more weird is that they finally escaped casually. What's the end? What happens after escaping? The first thing these three mythical birds think about is not revenge, but internal conflict. In the end, they even pulled out Lugia, the god of the sea. The funniest thing is that Lugia has the ability to stop them, but he doesn't. Instead, he handed all the responsibilities to the silly thing, letting the silly thing solve the battle between them. Poor silly child, the mythical beasts are fighting to death, and he has to help, almost losing his life. It's really ridiculous. Fortunately, silly thing has the aura of the protagonist, otherwise it would probably be in vain, and finally forced to save the world. It really made me laugh. Daily Complaints, an old movie from 2006. What new ideas can there be? Just when Zumu was stunned, two iron rings also flew to his side, trying to wrap him up. Can Zumu bear it? No. He slapped the Pokemon ball on his waist, and his three mythical birds also flew out. He saw a 100,000 volt lightning bird and a flame bird spraying flames, and they blasted directly towards the giant flying saucer in the air. So, in the shocked eyes of the silly thing and his group, the giant flying saucer that was so arrogant just now disappeared in an instant. Zeoxia, am I seeing things correctly? The flying saucer just broke like that? The silly thing asked Zeoxia with a confused face. Unfortunately, Zeoxia is also confused now. Chirp. A crisp bird cry came from a distance. Everyone saw a big fat blue bird flying up from the horizon, and without saying a word, it rushed towards Zumu. Zumu's Articuno quickly blocked it, and then the two divine birds started a fierce battle. The bird cry just now awakened the silly thing and the others. The silly thing pointed to the sky with a look of astonishment and shouted loudly, "Look, there are two gods of fire, two gods of ice, and two gods of electricity in the sky now. What's going on?" After saying that, He looked at Zioxia and the others with a confused face. At this time, Zioxia's face was terribly gloomy. She shouted angrily at the fool. "Fool, if I knew, would I still be standing here?" After that, she interrupted the fool who was about to speak. "Be quiet, see what the current situation is before you make a noise." At this moment, a familiar voice rang in their ears. To prevent the world from being destroyed, to protect world peace, to implement love and true evil, a cute and charming villain. "I am Masashi. I am Kojiro. We are the rocket team traveling through the galaxy. White hole. A white tomorrow is waiting for us. Swish, this is the rocket team that just arrived." The trio suddenly appeared and inexplicably finished the familiar opening remarks full of childhood memories. Masashi, who originally had a smile on his face, suddenly became silent. Zumiu, who was standing aside, calmly watched the battle of the 6 divine birds in the sky. He knew very well in his heart that the 3 divine birds in this world were born with divine duties because they lived in the 3 islands. This divine duty could increase their power tremendously. That was why the 3 divine birds that belonged to him were at a disadvantage despite their high-end combat power. But at this moment, he was not worried at all, because he, Zumiu, was still standing here, and he was the decisive factor in the whole battle. Bang! Charizard suddenly jumped out of the Pokeball, flew behind Zumiu, and said, "Roar!" "Zumiu, there is a very powerful guy down there. Do you want to arrange for Wolfang to fight him?" Zumiu smiled, nodded slowly, and released Arceus. Don't ask why he didn't try Charizard, because he is not a divine beast, riding an alpaca to command the battle. How cool is that? Charizard scratched his head, watching Zumiu jump from Lugia's back to Arceus's back, secretly rejoicing that he was lucky to be reincarnated, saved from the tragic fate of being a mount. Just as he was riding on Arceus' back, a huge water column burst out from the ground. Zumiu knew that the elf in the water column was Lugia, the god of the sea in the original plot, the idiot who always talked about peace and kindness. Lugia, who had just come out of the sea, looked around the situation and ignored the 3 divine birds under his command. Instead, he shouted loudly, "Everyone, for the sake of world peace, please stop fighting. Your fighting will destroy the whole world." Then, Lugia may know how to keep silent better than Arthur. None of the elves present listened to him, and they still did their own thing, fighting when they should fight and watching when they should watch. Chapter 405 You are not from this world. Seeing Lugia's anxious look, Zumiu felt amused. This idiot. Never mind, let Wolfang have a good fight with him. In the distance, Chao and others were trembling and watching the battle. Seeing Lugia was a very metaphysical thing, but suddenly seeing another Lugia appear again, this made Chao and others completely stunned. Surprisingly, another Lugia appeared. Isn't it said that the god of the sea is very rare? Some people can't see it once in their lifetime. It's over. What's going on? 2 Lugia appeared at the same time today. Are they here for a blind date? Stunned Old Iron. The Lugia in the original plot world was very curious about this same kind that had just appeared. But the battle between the 6 divine birds in the sky has left him with no energy to think about other things. He wants to stop their fight. It is the responsibility of the god of the sea to calm the internal roll of the 3 hot-tempered divine birds. But this fellow suddenly appeared in front of him and said to him jokingly, "Hey, the guy on the other side, you are busy with your own affairs. How can you still care about others?" The Lugia in the original plot world didn't quite understand what he meant by he is busy with his own affairs. What does this mean? Then, Zumiu used his actions to tell him what it meant to be busy with his own affairs. An air blast went straight to Lugia's face, catching him off guard. At this time, Lugia was directly furious. He was heard shouting angrily at this unseen fellow, "What are you doing? Have you forgotten our Lugia's mission? We must protect the world, don't bring disaster and war." "But look at what you are doing now." Zumiu's Lugia smiled faintly and said to him contemptuously, "That's your mission. What does it have to do with me? Besides, protecting the world requires strength, right? I just practice with you. I don't have any bad intentions, just to see what you can use to protect the world." After saying that, another water cannon was fired, which made Lugia a little angry. After avoiding Wolfang's attack, he shouted loudly, "I don't want to fight with you. Don't force me. Unexpectedly, when Luo Feng heard his words, he suddenly laughed. You cannot fight back, but it doesn't mean that I won't continue to attack. If you have the ability, you can continue to show your mercy. Little fool. After saying that, he no longer paid attention to the Lugia on the opposite side and began to attack with all his heart. After finally finding a similar opponent to practice with, Luo Feng cherished this opportunity very much. After all, when other elves were fighting before, he was watching the show under Zumu's feet. This may be the sadness of being good-looking and handsome, being treated as a vase for pretending to be better every day, with Luo Feng's ruthless attacks again and again. Finally, Lugia from the original world couldn't help it. With an annoyed roar, he flapped his wings and started a battle with Luo Feng. The elves in the sky were fighting lively, while the silly things on the ground were squatting on the side to watch the show. Originally, Zumu didn't want to care about the NPCs in these movie plots, but unexpectedly, he found an interesting thing. In fact, since he entered this world, he has seen all the performances of the silly things and others on the ground, and Masashi's performance has interested him very much. Her expression was confused and a little at a loss. In this case, there is no need to ask more. Zumu just laughed. He can be 100% sure that Masashi is probably also from the elf world, that is, the one that the system wants him to collect, the lost protagonists. Arceus dropped from the sky and came to Masashi. Zumu came down. He walked over slowly and said to her, Masashi, do you want to know how you got here? I believe you have also noticed something wrong. As soon as Zumu finished speaking, Masashi was stunned. Seeing that Masashi was guessed by him, Zumu nodded slowly. It was true. Then, he turned and walked aside, avoiding Kojiro and Meow Meow in the original plot world. There were too many doubts in his heart. Although Masashi didn't know Zumu's origin and identity, he could only keep up with Zumu's footsteps. After coming to a corner, thinking wrongly, go out and hit a big tree. Tell me, how do you know my origin? I have never seen you. Why do you know my name? Masashi stared at Zumu with his eyes, as if he hoped to find some flaws or other things from Zumu. Seeing her so defensive, Zumu could only chuckle and slowly said, you really haven't seen me. Actually, I haven't seen you either. As for how I know where you are from and why you came here, I'm not sure yet, but I can tell you that I'm actually not from this world either. After Zumu finished speaking, Masashi seemed to suddenly remember something, or as if she didn't remember anything, and suddenly grabbed his shoulders. What? You're not from this world either? Then tell me, how should I go back? What should I do to return to my original world? I want to find the real Kojiro and Meow Meow. Not those stupid guys. They're all fake. Masashi's voice was a little excited, and as he spoke, he actually broke down and started sobbing. Zumu let Masashi pull him, and slowly comforted him. I don't know how to get you back, but I can take you away from here. I don't know if you're willing? Zumu's words made Masashi hesitate. It was her first time meeting Zumu, and she didn't know whether she should believe Zumu. Zumu saw Masashi's hesitation. He looked into Masashi's eyes and said lightly, in my world, there is another Zioxia. She and you are from the same place. I think you should understand, Masashi. When Masashi heard the name Zioxia, his heart was instantly shaken. She could hear what Zumu meant, that Zioxia, if nothing unexpected happened, should be in the same situation as her, and went to another world inexplicably. However, if you can see the real little devil, maybe you can feel more secure. Masashi gradually lowered his head and made a decision in his heart. Zumu suddenly felt a pain in his heart. He agreed to go out for a walk, so why did he take another one back without saying anything? Damn it, it's over. The big baby at home is going to be jealous again. But there is no way. Who made him meet these lost protagonists? All girls. To be honest, if possible, Zumu also wanted to take two boys back, so that the Ents and Shirona would not misunderstand him all day long, whether he likes to cultivate. Chapter 406, Is this a frog? Thinking of this, Masashi said to Zumu firmly, I can go with you, but I want you to promise me that you will find a suitable opportunity to send me back to my original world. Hearing Masashi's words, Zumu smiled faintly, nodded, and said to Masashi, no problem, These are all small things. I am also looking for a way to go to your world. I believe that I will find a way to go to your world soon. Then I will definitely send you back and let you return to your own world." Hearing that Zumu promised him, Masashi breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Zumu with firm eyes, and said to him, "Okay, then I will go with you, and I hope you don't forget what you promised me." Hearing that Masashi agreed to leave this world with him, Zumu nodded, and said to Masashi, "Okay, I still have some things to solve in this world. After I solve these things, I will take you back to my world." After that, Zumu left without looking back. At this time, he had more important things to do. Although it was not a big deal, it was just for show, but in Zumu's opinion, show was the most important thing. When he came to the battlefield, he saw the three mythical birds and Lugia fighting fiercely. At this time, he was also a little troubled. Things that could be solved quickly, these lazy people had to drag it for a long time. Zumu, who was a little impatient, shouted loudly to the elves on the field, "Haven't you had enough fun yet? You can't do such a simple thing? Hurry up and solve the battle. We have to go back in time." After saying this, I don't know where Zumu found a chair, sat on it calmly, and cracked melon seeds leisurely. Zumu's behavior completely angered the three mythical birds and Lugia in the plot world. To them, they are the gods of this world. They control most of the power in this world. It can even be said that the whole world was created by them. Now they are provoked by a human being, which makes them unable to suppress their anger at all, only to hear the lightning bird scream sharply, and rush towards Zumu with lightning all over his body. Looking at Zumu, there was no panic at all, just sitting on the chair quietly watching the lightning bird rushing over. The silly thing saw this scene and shouted loudly to Zumu, "Hey, get out of the way quickly, this is going to kill people." Hearing the silly thing's words, Zumu looked back at him, smiled at him, and ignored him. Just when people thought that Zumu would die without a burial place after being attacked by the lightning bird, a voice rang out, "Cool, I, the last general, Greninja, am willing to go through fire and water for the Zoo family for generations." Along with this strange cry, everyone saw that the lightning bird, which was just so vigorous and high-spirited, flew backwards directly. The silly thing and his group took a closer look and found that it was a Greninja, which surprised them. Although Greninja is also very strong, the one who was just beaten away was the lightning bird known as the God of Thunder. There is no need to explain his combat power. Everyone knows how strong he is, but he couldn't withstand the attack of Greninja. This made everyone unable to understand. What happened today was beyond their expectations. First, the three sacred birds were caught, and then three sacred birds appeared. The most surprising thing was that two of the legendary Lugia appeared at once. The first one that appeared was okay. It loved peace and its words contained love for the world. But the one that appeared later was full of violence. They started fighting without saying a word when they met. Is this Lugia? Who would believe it? Although the silly thing and his group have been numbed by the endless strange things that have emerged today. You told me that a Koga Ninja knocked down the lightning bird with one punch. He himself has nothing. You told me that this is the legendary God of Thunder. Is that a Koga Ninja? It's really too depressing. Seeing the silly thing now, he was a little stunned. Zumu smiled faintly and said to the silly thing, "Silly thing, now it's your turn to save the world. Go find the three treasures. You should know what to do." Suddenly hearing Zumu's words, the silly thing was still a little confused. But then, under the shining of the protagonist's halo, he immediately understood. He turned around and left with Zioxia. As for why Zumu didn't go, don't ask. The reason is that Zumu felt it was too troublesome and didn't like the feeling of trouble. He had to reluctantly leave this opportunity to save the world to the stupid thing. At this time, Lugia in the plot world also saw Zumu, and he shouted directly at Zumu, "Human, why do you want to stop me from reducing wars? Because of you, this world has suffered such a great trauma. You should repent for it." After saying that, he suddenly left the battle circle and stayed away from Luo Feng, who was still fighting with him. At this time, the war between the 6 divine birds also decided the winner, and the final result ended with the victory of Zumu's 3 divine birds. Zumu, who saw the result, said to Lugia, "I didn't mean to stop you from saving the world. Don't you feel that your obstruction is useless? As he said that, Zoomu looked at Lugia in the plot world, with doubt in his eyes. At this time, the familiar and funny lines came to my ears again. In order to prevent the world from being destroyed, to protect the world's peace, to implement the love and true evil, the cute and charming villains Masashi and Kojiro, we are the rocket team white hole that shuttles through the galaxy, and the white tomorrow is waiting for us. It turns out that at this time, Masashi has felt that she is about to leave this world. Although she has not been in this world for a long time, she knows in her heart that once she leaves, the rocket team in this world will really disband, so she said the last line to say goodbye to her teammates. Although Kojiro doesn't know anything now, but it doesn't prevent Masashi from being sad. At this time, the silly things and several people also came back with 3 treasures. According to the direction of the plot, they were placed in the corresponding position, and the flute was played. Different springs really flowed out of the altar, and the 3 sacred birds who heard the flute looked at Zoomu again, and then they returned to normal and returned to their own hills. The Lugia in the original plot world also looked at Zoomu hatefully, plunged into the sea, and left without looking back. Seeing his performance, Zoomu smiled disdainfully. It's just a Lugia, and it's not like he hasn't killed it before. I'll stew it for you. Chapter 407. Back on track. Afterwards, Zoomu stopped thinking about Lugia. The problem of this world has been solved, although he didn't do anything serious. But after all, he came to help and contributed to saving this world. Now that the problem has been solved, he can return to his own world. Although this plot is meaningless, it doesn't matter. Zoomu will just think of himself as a vacation, thinking in his heart. He walked to Masashi and said to her with a smile, "Masashi, are you ready? We are leaving." "Leave? Masashi, where are you going?" Zoomu's words startled Kojiro. As Masashi's teammate, he didn't even know that Masashi was leaving, which made him a little panicked. At this time, Masashi also heard the question Kojiro asked her, but she didn't know how to tell her teammates in this world. She looked at Zoomu in embarrassment, hoping that Zoomu would help her explain. Zoomu also saw Masashi's dilemma. He smiled and said to Kojiro, "Kojiro, the Masashi in front of you is not the Masashi of this world. She came to you from another world for some irresistible reasons. This place does not belong to her, and she does not belong to this world. Her departure is good for all of you." Zoomu's words made Kojiro unbelievable. He could not believe that the teammate who followed him to venture out was not from this world. This reason made him unable to accept it at all. When he thought that Masashi was about to leave this world, a wave of sadness surged in his heart. He actually cried without any defense. He looked at Masashi with a sad face and said to her in a trembling voice, "Masashi, have you forgotten our ideals? We must save the world together and defend world peace together. If you leave, will our Team Rocket still be Team Rocket?" Kojiro's words made Masashi unable to suppress her emotions at all. She hugged Kojiro and cried to him, "Kojiro, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I don't belong to this world, and this world is not my world. I can't bear to leave you, but now our world is in chaos. If I don't go back, our world will be destroyed." After that, she pushed Kojiro away, walked behind Zoomu, and shouted to Kojiro, "Kojiro, don't forget our ideals. For our ideals, you must persevere." After that, she said to Zoomu, "Let's go." Zoomu looked at Masashi now. Even though she had suppressed her sadness, everyone present could see that Masashi was also in pain. Seeing that Masashi had said goodbye, he nodded to her and said to her, "Then let's go." He silently chanted in his heart, "Dog system, return." What surprised him was that this time the dog system did not teleport directly, but slowly opened a space-time gate in front of him. He couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. This dog system, it's still a trick. Although Masashi knew that Kojiro was now a program, she had experienced this movie world with Kojiro dozens of times. If it weren't for Zoomu, I'm afraid Masashi would continue to follow Kojiro. The plots over and over again, without any difference. Everyone is repeating the same thing. In fact, Masashi's farewell is not a farewell to Kojiro in the movie world. She was more waving to the friend in her memory. She came here inexplicably, Masashi didn't know what happened to the little Jiro in the elf world. I'm afraid I won't have the chance to say goodbye to you because maybe I will never see you again. Masashi lowered her head, stepped forward, and walked through the time and space gate with Zumiu. After walking out of the time and space gate, she could no longer suppress her emotions. She hugged Zumiu's shoulders and cried loudly. Zumiu looked at Masashi who was holding her, and she felt a little helpless in her heart, but there was nothing she could do. After all, she was really uncomfortable now. Zumiu had no choice but to pat Masashi on the head and said to her gently, "Okay, you don't belong to that world anyway. Since you have decided to leave, you have to look forward. Don't live in the past." Hearing Zumiu's words, Masashi raised his head and said in a crying voice, "I know I don't belong to that world, but there will no longer be Masashi in the rocket team of that world. I feel sorry for Kojiro and Meowth." Seeing Masashi's red eyes, Zumiu said helplessly, "It's actually nothing big. When I find a way to travel through the world, I can take you back to have a look. So, you have to be strong now." Zumiu's words stunned Masashi, and then he shouted excitedly, You said there is a way to go back to that world." Zumiu nodded helplessly, and said to Masashi, "I can also go to that world by accident. When I find a way to break through the barriers of the world, I will definitely be able to go back." After hearing Zumiu's words, Masashi finally stopped crying, and said to Zumiu, "Thank you, Zumiu, I'll trouble you then." Zumiu nodded. He had never felt so speechless before. After collecting another heroine, Zumiu shook his head speechlessly. He always felt that he was arranged. Whether it was the ants at home or the current dog system, why do others always misunderstand me? Dog system, summarize it for me. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the task. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 3 stone tablets of Arceus. Collection task. Please find the Sons of Luck from the elf world scattered in various worlds, and establish a bond with them to gain intimacy. Friends, do you still remember Selena? Many family members are waiting anxiously. Don't panic. Take notes here first. There will be a test later. Selena, I'll be here soon. After this plot, it will be a warm and pure love routine. Are you looking forward to it? Look forward to it. I'm just talking casually, whether to accept it or not. We don't know ourselves. Look at Zumiu. This child has talent. Who knows what accidents will happen, right? Okay. Next is the intimacy reward of Serena. Serena collection reward. Greninja's combat power is increased to the early stage of the master. Serena intimacy progress reward. 10%. Charizard's combat power is increased to the early stage of the master. 50%. Dragonite's combat power is increased to the early stage of the master. 80%. Leaf King's combat power is increased to the early stage of the master. 100%. Reward the host with a perfect little tail. A little baby Serena. Chapter 408 Collection Mission. Current collection progress. Serena, intimacy percent 99. Serena intimacy progress reward, 10%. Garchomp Mega Evolution Stone. 50%. Absol Mega Evolution Stone. 80%. Skill, Mind Synchronization. When fighting with Serena, you can hear each other's voice at the same time, increasing the tacit understanding by 100%. 100%. Strength Enhancement Candy. Supreme Peak. For Zumiu, Serena is his perfect partner, not only because of Serena's beauty, although he is not a face dog, who doesn't like good people. In the original world, Serena, as the champion of the Sinnoh region, has extremely high strength and is born with a noble temperament. But in fact, she is a girl with an extremely gentle personality. She does not have the arrogance of the Sinnoh champion at all. On the contrary, she is extremely gentle to everyone and is willing to help anyone. In the previous world, Serena saw the silly thing in Bidai City for the first time, and clearly said that she was willing to help the silly thing, and also told the silly thing that she herself had studied the myths of elves. After getting to know Silly, she took Silly to visit the outstanding attractions of Emi City, the very powerful Pokémon statue in Emi City. In order to make Silly believe in herself, she also hinted to Silly that she had helped Dr. Yamanashi study the Pokémon illustrations, and like Silly, she went out to society at a very young age and went on adventures alone. It can be said that she really treated Silly sincerely. Does this show that Serena is a kind girl? The author of Nemo Dog Day was excited. After Silly got the swamp badge, Sirona appeared again at the Lizzie Lake, and told Silly the secrets in Lizzie Lake. After knowing that Silly encountered the injured Psyduck, she deliberately found a special medicine to help Silly heal the group of Psyducks, so that Silly could ask Psyduck to quickly reach God. Our Sirona is still as kind as ever, and she appeared again after Silly drove away Psyduck, and gave the ancient amulet to Silly, asking him to help her give it to her grandmother. In the following competition, Sirona fought with the Fool as the champion, and clearly stated that she would not let him down in the fight. Although she lost in the end, she still gave the Fool a high evaluation. As for how she lost, it depends on one's own opinion. From the above points, it can be seen that Sirona is a rare opportunity for Zumu. Therefore, Zumu often thinks that Sirona is the reason why he came to this world. Current collection progress: Zioxia, intimacy percent 50, Zioxia intimacy progress reward, 10%, Snorlax's combat power is increased to the early stage of the leader. 50%, Bulbasaur's combat power is increased to the early stage of the leader. 80%, Lugia's combat power is increased to the early stage of the leader. 100%, the host obtains the body of the water soul. The affinity for the water element is increased to 100%. Zioxia is an extremely important character in the original plot. The conditions in her family are very superior. It can be said that she could have not followed the Fool to take risks, but who told her to like the Fool? Although the silly thing didn't know, she still kept her thoughts in her heart, silently adventured with the silly thing, and accompanied him. It can be said that she paid a lot for the silly thing. In the original plot, for the silly thing, she gave up her quality life and accompanied the silly thing on the trip without hesitation, which fully showed that her heart was sincere to the silly thing. To be honest, Zumu especially admired this kind of girl. It's really not easy to give everything for the person you like, but it's a pity that the silly thing is like a fool and didn't find Zioxia's feelings for him at all. Speaking of this, I have to feel sad for Zioxia, especially after the appearance of Samai. Current collection progress: Masashi, intimacy percent 5, Masashi intimacy progress reward, 10%. Flame Chicken's combat power is increased to the early stage of the Supreme. 50%. Celebai's combat power is increased to the early stage of the Supreme. 80%. Loruliz's combat power is increased to the early stage of the Supreme. 100%. The host obtains the body of the Fire Soul. Affinity for the fire element increased to 100%. You should say this or not, Masashi is also a poor child. She is always hit in her life. First of all, her own mother. As an assistant to the leader of the rocket team, her life was originally very good. Unfortunately, she went to find the legendary dream during a mission and then disappeared. There has been no news since then. Poor Masashi was only 5 years old at the time, after her mother disappeared. Masashi was adopted by a poor family. Although someone took care of her, the poverty in the family was really a flaw. She often had no food to eat, and even began to fill her stomach with cold snow when she was hungry. Maybe everything she did later was due to her pitiful experience as a child. Her mother disappeared, and she had no one to rely on. Isn't this a poor person? When she grew up, Masashi moved away from her hometown, wanting to pursue her ideals, and applied to a nursing school. Unfortunately, because Masashi is not a Chansey, she can't use the singing trick at all. Not only can she not comfort the injured Pokemon, but she can also be hypnotized by the singing of other Chanseys, so that Masashi can't graduate at all. On the day of graduation, when Masashi left Chansey nursing school, there was a Chansey that couldn't do anything well and had a good relationship with her. When they parted, the Chansey called Masashi and wanted to give her her nurse's hat, but Masashi didn't accept it. She thought she was not worthy of being a Pokemon doctor. After that, Chansey split her egg-shaped pendant into 2 halves, one half for Masashi, and asked them to remember each other. In the subsequent experience, their vows obviously worked. The Chansey that couldn't do anything well has evolved into a happy egg. In order to repay Masashi, it gave all the food in the Pokemon Center to Team Rocket. Later, when Masashi joined Team Rocket, everyone knew that Team Rocket was not a good organization, but she still did not look back. In the end, The happy egg that couldn't do anything well wanted to follow Masashi, but Masashi, who felt sorry for it and didn't want it to suffer, attacked Bliss Egg with a Pokémon. But the Pokémon couldn't break up their friendship. Bliss Egg wanted to continue to follow them until the end. If Masashi hadn't insisted, he might have really accepted Bliss Egg. Chapter 409, Sirona's 100%. In addition to being a member of Team Rocket, Masashi has many other professions and interests. It must be said that Masashi is actually a versatile girl. Masashi is particularly fond of beauty and fashion. When she was tracking the silly thing, she learned that there was a gorgeous competition in a region. From then on, she became a trainer and obtained the qualification to participate in the gorgeous competition. In the future, every time she encounters a gorgeous competition, she will fabricate a fake identity to participate. If she loses the game, she will change her identity and continue to participate in the next game. Although she fails every time, she has never given up. In fact, it is not difficult to find that Masashi is also a girl, and a very good girl. It's just that the pressure of life and childhood experiences make her want to protect herself well, and often use the hardness of the appearance to cover up the inferiority in her heart. She also has her own hobbies and interests. Zumu felt a headache when looking at this task list. Otherwise it was a dog system, and the things arranged were really annoying. If you insist on letting me cultivate intimacy, then do you have to contact to cultivate intimacy? I am so good. Isn't it easy to produce stories after contact? If there's a story, what do you do with my lovely Sirona? Thinking in his heart, Zumu said to Masashi, who was still sad, Masashi, I will find a place for you to rest now. You just came to this world and are not familiar with it. Okay. Hearing Zumu's words, Masashi was stunned, and then nodded and agreed. Seeing Masashi nodded, Zumu suddenly thought of Sirona in his heart. It's over. He brought a girl back again. I don't know how Sirona will behave this time! Zumu hasn't seen her for a while. To be honest, I miss her a little. Just when Zumu's heart was dancing wildly, his cell phone suddenly rang. Zumu took out his cell phone and took a closer look. It turned out that Sirona called him. Zumu picked up the phone, and a pleasant voice came from the other side of the phone. Zumu, what are you doing? Why can't you get through on the phone? Where did you go? Hearing the voice on the phone, Zumu was startled. This was a call from the leader. It seems that when he went to the movie world just now, Sirona called him. Although she didn't know that she had gone to the movie world and brought back a Masashi, it didn't matter. He didn't plan to hide it anyway. After all, there was really nothing going on between him and Masashi. The origin of all this can be traced back to that dog system. It had to come up with that collection task, and the most important thing was to cultivate intimacy. Isn't this going to kill Zumu? I wanted to be a good man, but the system wouldn't let me. Originally, there was nothing wrong, but now it's good, now it's comfortable. Everyone misunderstood, including my own aunt. She didn't believe what I said. I was thinking about marrying a few more people and having more children all day long. It's all thanks to this dog system. They can say that they don't mind, but how can they really not mind? So Zumu said quickly, Sirona, I want to tell you something. I just went out and brought back a girl. She is from the same place as Zioxia. The voice of Sirona on the other side of the phone suddenly fell silent. Zumu said to Sirona quickly, Sirona, don't get me wrong. I really have nothing to do with them. We just want to help them return to their original world. Sirona on the other side of the phone was quiet for a moment after hearing Zumu's answer, and then said to Zumu, Zumu, I really don't mind. There is no point in saying more. Zumu heard Sirona's resentment from the phone. Yes, any woman would mind these. Zumu heard this and said quickly, Sirona, believe me, I will always be yours. No one can take me away from you. Hearing Zumu's words, Sirona on the other side of the phone smiled and said to Zumu, okay, Zumu, I know what kind of person you are. No more, go and get busy. By the way, bring the girl named Masashi home. I want to get to know her too. After saying that, without waiting for Zumu to say anything else, Sirona hung up the phone. At the same time, the voice of the dog system rang in Zumu's heart again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the task of collecting Sirona and reaching %100. Current collection progress, Shirona, intimacy percent 100, Shirona intimacy progress reward, 10%, Garkamp Mega Evolution Stone 50%, Absol Mega Evolution Stone 80%, skill, mind synchronization, when fighting with Shirona, you can hear each other's thoughts at the same time, increasing the tacit understanding by 100%. 100%, strength enhancement candy, supreme peak. Get strength enhancement candy, supreme peak. Zumu was stunned when he heard this voice. What the hell? Isn't this tone angry? Shouldn't I be the one to coax her next? Why is it full? What's going on? I brought a girl back. But Shirona became closer. Is this called involution? Never mind. Things have come to this point. Zumu no longer think about it. Anyway, he will never let Shirona down in this life. Then he smiled bitterly again, thinking carefully. What he did was indeed a bit wrong. Not to mention that he lost contact, and when he got in touch, he had to bring back a girl. It really made Shirona suffer, since Shirona asked him to take Masashi home. What else can he say, than just bring him back? After thinking about this in his heart, Zumu said to Masashi, Masashi, I'll take you home first. My girlfriend wants to see you. After saying that, Zumu looked at Masashi with a serious face. Hearing Zumu's words, Masashi's heart skipped a beat. Zumu actually had a girlfriend. For some reason, at this moment, Masashi suddenly felt a vague sense of loss. Masashi, what's wrong? Masashi, who was lost in thought, was awakened again by Zumu's words. She said in panic, okay. Hearing Masashi's answer, Zumu was relieved. If Masashi didn't agree, Zumu really didn't know what to do. But after all, he promised himself, so Zumu didn't have to think about it. Thinking in his heart, Zumu took Shirona home. When Zumu appeared at the door of his house, he felt a little uneasy. It must be said that no one would not go home, but when he went home, he would bring a woman home. This is unacceptable for anyone. Chapter 410, Bringing Masashi to see Shirona. Although Shirona had clearly told him that she would not be angry with him and that she did not mind. But the problem was that Zumu minded. He felt that he was really a bit inhuman. No, it should be said that the dog system was a bit inhuman. Although the dog system was not human. Please respect the system. The system does everything for your own good. For my own good? You can do this for my own good. You clearly want me to open the Shura field. Fortunately, I am smart and handled everything perfectly, otherwise the Shura field would have been opened in my own home. Hearing Zumu's words, the dog system sounded in Zumu's mind again. Please respect yourself. The system does not mean that. Seeing that the dog system was still stubborn, Zumu did not want to pay attention to him at this time. Turning to Masashi, he said, then let's go. I will take you home to see Shirona first. Hearing Zumu's words, Masashi blushed and nodded. Seeing Masashi blushing, Zumu was a little puzzled. Isn't it just going home? What is this girl thinking? Women are really hard to understand. I have lived 2 lives, but my cultivation is still too shallow, and my Taoism is not deep. Forget it. It's better not to think about it than to figure it out. Anyway, I am already at the door. Thinking in his heart, Zumu knocked on the door to go home. Only a burst of hurried footsteps were heard in the house. Then the door opened, and a familiar and delicate face appeared in front of Zumu. The visitor was Shirona, Zumu's legal wife. No. What legal wife? He's the only legal fiancé. Well, it makes more sense to say this. In an instant, she pounced, hugged Zumu, kissed Zumu, and said sweetly, Zumu, you are back. I have prepared the meal. Seeing Shirona in front of him, Zumu's heart was about to melt at this time. She was worthy of being his woman. Hearing Shirona's words, Zumu was actually very moved. But can the meal cooked by Shirona really be eaten? By the way, has Shirona ever cooked for me? Thinking of this, Zumu couldn't help but feel a little numb. Looking at Masashi behind him, Zumu suddenly realized that bringing Masashi back was a wise choice. Since Shirona cooked, let Masashi have a good meal. Family, you're welcome. After all, it was me who saved you from the movie world. Thinking in his heart, Zumu cast a guilty look at Masashi. Seeing Zumu's pitying and guilty eyes, Masashi didn't understand why he looked at himself like that. But in order to have a better life here, Masashi immediately stepped forward and stretched out his hand to Sirona. He said very politely, "Hello, Sirona, I'm Masashi, very happy to meet you." Sirona, who was very happy that Zumu came back just now, was even happier at this time. She let go of Zumu, tidied her clothes, and held Masashi's hand generously, looking like a hostess, and said to her enthusiastically, "Hello Masashi, I heard Zumu talking about you. Don't worry, you can treat this place as your home in the future." Come on, has Sirona practiced some harem survival rules, or did she go to study without telling me? How can she be so sarcastic? Seeing the two people being polite in front of him, Zumu really couldn't stand this kind of communication between women. Then he said to the two of them, "Okay, let's go into the house." After that, he took Sirona's hand and walked into the house. Masashi, who was standing aside, saw the intimate behavior of the two people, and the feeling of loss appeared in his heart again. And Sirona, who was held by Zumu's hand, saw Masashi's performance. In an instant, everything was clear in his heart. I'm afraid that the man in front of him, called Masashi, has some ideas. Then come, let you see how I protect my love. At least you have to keep your position stable. She couldn't help but start to worry in her heart. It's not a good thing for her man to be too outstanding. Although she was prepared, she was still a little jealous. Retracting her thoughts, Sirona looked at Zumu beside her and suddenly became a little angry. She secretly stretched out her hand, and pinched Zumu's waist hard behind Masashi's sight. Zumu, who was about to walk into the house, suddenly felt a sharp pain in his waist. Looking at Sirona beside him, Zumu understood it instantly. It seems that Sirona is still jealous, but he really has nothing to do with Masashi. She just doesn't believe it. Zumu, who has no words to say, is full of bitterness in his heart. But then again, if Sirona goes out every day and brings back a young man, Zumu will be unhappy. It's reasonable. He glanced at Sirona with apology. Seeing Zumu's sight, Sirona rolled her eyes at him. Then she hugged his arm and said, "I said I love you no matter what you are like." Hearing Sirona's words, Zumu was particularly moved at this time. Sirona is indeed the woman he has chosen. It doesn't matter whether she believes in him or not. She can speak calmly about taking other women home. That's just too good. As for Sirona's jealousy, sorry, he would feel something wrong if Sirona didn't get jealous. Who can tolerate his girlfriend not caring about him? He can't stand it at all. So, now Sirona is jealous of him. Zumu is not angry at all. On the contrary, he will be very happy. This is a manifestation of Sirona's love for him. At this time, Sirona saw Zumu's silly look and couldn't help but feel a little funny. Although this man is too easy to be favored by other women, she still loves him very much. There is no way. Who makes Zumu excellent? Seeing the two people here, Masashi, she felt that she couldn't stand it, so she had to interrupt the two people in front of her. "Sorry, both of you, disturb you too. Can we eat first? I'm a little hungry." A weak voice sounded in the ears of Zumu and Sirona. At this time, the two people just remembered that there was a Masashi next to them. Feeling a little shy, Sirona patted Zumu and said to Masashi, "Sorry, Masashi, I forgot about you just now. Since you're hungry, let's eat first." Then she let go of Zumu's arm and took Masashi's hand. She walked quickly to the table and said to Masashi, "You sit here for a while, I will serve the dishes now." Hearing Sirona asking him to wait for the meal here, Masashi hurriedly said, "It's okay, Sirona, I will go with you." After saying that, she grabbed Sirona's hand. She took Masashi with her backhand, and the two women happily entered the kitchen. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 411, and is here. When Zumu saw the two people walking towards the kitchen, he couldn't help but feel great pity for Masashi again. Poor Masashi didn't know what he was going to experience. Forget it. Since she came to this world, she should also experience what the real legendary dark cuisine of the Western continent is. Suddenly, Zumu, who was gloating, was shocked. What should he do? Just when Zumu was panicking about the next dinner, his cell phone rang again. Zumu, full of doubts, answered the phone, only to hear a cold voice from the other side of the phone. Zumu, I am your Aunt Zioxiao. Zioxiao's voice was unusually cold, but Zumu could hear a hint of tenderness in this voice. Zumu knew that the tenderness in this voice was reserved for him by Aunt Zioxiao. Zumu, Aunt Zioxiao has arrived at the gate of Madu College, come out for a while. After that, the phone was hung up before Zumu could speak. Zumu was stunned, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. This Aunt Zioxiao is really interesting. Family members, isn't this opportunity here? This delicious meal, can't I escape now? Zumu walked towards the gate. After all, Aunt Zioxiao wanted to see him, and he couldn't let her wait for long. Then he walked towards the gate quickly. When Zumu walked to the gate of Magic City College, he saw a cold woman standing beside the gate, and the woman's eyes were full of majesty. No matter where she looked, her eyes were full of scrutiny. When this look fell on Zumu, this majestic look suddenly became gentle. Zumu, Aunt is here, come quickly. While speaking, she waved to Zumu. Zumu, who had just arrived here, also saw Zioxiao, and then walked over with a smile on his face. Aunt, why are you not busy today? Do you remember to come and see me? Seeing Zumu teasing her, Zioxiao hurriedly said, what you said, Aunt can only come to see her nephew when she is not busy. As she said that, she patted Zumu's head with her hand, which can be said to be thunderous but little raindrops. Aunt is coming to pick up a fairy file nearby today, and she came to see you. How is it? Are you used to it here? Are you unhappy? Tell Aunt. Zumu scratched his head and smiled. Don't worry, Aunt. Aunt Zulu is also in the Magic City College. She will take care of me if anything happens. Hearing Zumu's words, Zioxiao smiled and said to Zumu, yes, I almost forgot that Lulu is here too. I heard that you have been working hard to expand the Zoo family recently. You have done a very good job in this matter. Our Zoo family has been exhausted by your generation. Now whether our Zoo family is prosperous or not depends on you. Hearing Zioxiao's words, Zumu was numb at the time. It was very helpless. How did you know all this? What did I do? He couldn't help but curse the dog system again in his heart. But the dog system didn't care about him at all. Now the ants all think that he wants to expand his harem and expand the Zoo family. But Zumu really doesn't mean that. He just wants to travel the world with Sirona now. He really doesn't mean to expand his harem. The things he did were helpless. Now Zumu wants to pull the system out and beat it up. Only in this way can he vent his anger. And, I don't mean that. I'm going to improve my strength now so that I can revitalize our Zoo family. Hearing Zumu's words, Zioxiao smiled and looked at the child in front of her. It was really a gift from God to their Zoo family. Seeing Zioxiao looking at him with a face full of relief, Zumu suddenly felt unusually helpless at this time. He knew what the ant in front of him wanted to say, and he said to Zioxiao helplessly, Aunt, I know what you mean. Don't worry. If the family needs me, I will definitely do my duty. Seeing Zumu taking on so many things, Zioxiao was even happier. Okay, good boy. Okay, Auntie won't talk to you for now. I'll take you and your Auntie Lu out for dinner tomorrow. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Hearing Zioxiao's words, Zumu nodded obediently and said to Zioxiao, okay, Auntie Zioxiao, just contact me tomorrow. I always have time. Okay, wait for my call tomorrow. After that, Zioxiao turned around and left. Looking at Zioxiao's back, Zumu felt a little helpless. These aunties of his either wanted him to have more children or wanted him to inherit the position of the head of the family as soon as possible. It was really helpless. But fortunately, Zumu also had a wish to revitalize the family. Seeing that Zioxiao had already walked away, Zumu was about to go home. And suddenly he was shocked. No, you can go home at any time. But you can't go home now. God knows what dark food Sirona has made. The most unsafe place now is home. Thinking of this, Zumu once again felt pity for Masashi in his heart. Thinking in his heart, Zumu picked up the phone and called Sirona. Zumu, where have you been? I just brought the food here. Why did you disappear? Hearing Sirona's words, Zumu couldn't help but shudder. At this time, Should he thank Aunt Zioxiel? If it weren't for Aunt Zioxiel, he might also suffer in the house. Zumu didn't dare to say what he was thinking in front of Sirona. Zumu pretended to be calm and said, Sirona, my aunt came to see me just now, and now I need to go to have a meal with Aunt Zioxiel. I'm sorry, Sirona, I can't taste your cooking. Hearing Zumu's words, Sirona said regretfully on the other end of the phone, Zumu, it's a pity that you didn't taste the food I cooked. You don't know that Masashi was very happy eating, don't you think so? Masashi, who was crying but had no tears, held back his tears, nodded fiercely at Sirona, and said, yes, I have never eaten such delicious food. It's really hard for you, Sirona. Sirona, who found that Masashi's expression was wrong, asked with concern, Masashi, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? Is your appetite for the food not right? Hearing Sirona's words, Masashi shook her head quickly. At this time, she missed the days when she was hungry when she was a child. She would rather not eat than suffer such a punishment. She also understood at this time why Zumu looked at her with strange eyes when she entered the room just now. Now she understood. She understood everything. Chapter 412, Poor Masashi. Sirona's cooking skills are really good. It's not something that people can eat at all. What she thought in her heart was what she thought in her heart. But she still said to Sirona stubbornly, No, I just remembered my old days. When I was a child, my family was poor. This is the first time I have eaten such good food. Zumu on the other end of the phone heard the conversation between the two and hurriedly said to Sirona, then you guys eat first. I have something to do here. After everything is over, I will go home to accompany you. After Sirona responded, Zumu hung up the phone immediately. He was afraid that if he listened anymore, he would not be able to help but go home to rescue Masashi. Masashi, who is still struggling at home, now feels that he is worse off than dead. It was clearly agreed to be a dinner party. How could it suddenly become a death party? The most important thing is that she can't help but eat now. Sirona is sitting next to her. A pair of small hands held her face, looking at her expectantly. She couldn't say anything yet. She could only eat quietly. Now she felt that she was living a life worse than death. For a moment, she had the impulse to run away from here. Otherwise, I should go back. This world is not suitable for me. Woo. Masashi was originally a very straightforward and aggressive person. In the original world, she often ordered Kojiro and Meow Meow to act, but she rarely did real tasks herself. But Masashi is actually a very gentle person. In the original world, she would help stupid things when they needed help, and Sirona is a strong person. When Masashi met the strong Sirona, she was doomed to have no escape, no avoidance. At this time, Masashi suddenly remembered that Zumu once said that Zioxia was still in this world. I don't know why I haven't seen her now. So, Masashi asked unexpectedly, Sirona, isn't there a girl named Zioxia? Why isn't she here? Hearing Masashi's question, Sirona said lightly, Oh, you are talking about Zioxia. Zioxia is going to school now. Hearing Sirona's words, Masashi was stunned. Going to school? Zioxia went to school? What kind of news is this? She and Zioxia are old rivals. They have been fighting for so long, but now she is going to school. Suddenly, Masashi burst into laughter. Ha. This Zioxia is actually going to school. It's really pitiful. After saying that, he was still laughing alone. Seeing her behavior, Sirona was very puzzled. Isn't it normal to go to school? Why does Masashi find it so funny? Moreover, Masashi will probably go to school too. Thinking in her heart, Sirona said to the laughing Masashi, is this ridiculous? I guess you will also go to school in 2 days. Isn't this normal? Hearing Sirona's words, Masashi stopped suddenly. With an incredulous look on her face, she said to Sirona, Me, Masashi, I'm going to school? Looking at Masashi's current appearance, Sirona said calmly, Yes, you are going to school. Otherwise, what can you do? In our world, learning is the hard truth. Children must go to school when they are young. You should be obedient and go to school. Going to school is very interesting and you will have many good friends. At this time, Masashi wanted to cry but had no tears. She had clearly agreed to wait for Zumu to take her back to her own world. Why did she have to go to school? Forget about going to school. Do I have to eat the food made by Sirona every day in the future? In an instant, Masashi felt that his life was dark. He had fallen into Zumu's trap. Thinking about it, Masashi's face was full of grief. Seeing Masashi like this, Sirona was very surprised and said to Masashi, "What's wrong, Masashi? Don't be too sad, just put your heart in your stomach, and your friends at school will be very good." Masashi looked at Sirona's serious face, and the grief in his heart became even stronger. Just when Masashi was feeling sad, Shirona's phone rang, and Shirona took over, and a lively voice came out of the phone. "Sister Shirona, did you miss me? I'm out of school." After that, Zioxia smiled sweetly at Shirona in the video. Then, seeing Masashi standing next to Shirona, he shouted, "Team Rocket, why are you here?" Zioxia's words woke Masashi up. It was rare to see someone from the same world as him. At this time, Masashi couldn't control himself. Although he had known Zioxia was here from Zumu, he was still very excited to see Zioxia just now. But then she calmed down and said to Zioxia calmly, "Hey, isn't this Zioxia? How come the great trainer and adventurer is carrying a school bag and going to school?" Hearing Masashi's provocative words, Zioxia seemed very angry. She said angrily, "What do you know? I'm going to school to make new friends, unlike you, old aunt." Masashi's face turned red when Zioxia called her aunt. How old was she? And she was called aunt. What's more important is that Zioxia, this little brat, dared to provoke her. At this time, Shirona, who was watching the excitement on the side, also said to Masashi with a smile, "Masashi, you don't have to envy Zioxia going to school. You will go to school in 2 days. Look forward to it." Hearing Shirona's words, Masashi instantly looked like a deflated balloon, lowering his head and saying nothing. When Zioxia heard that Masashi was also going to school, she instantly laughed like a 200-pound child. Pointing at Masashi with a smile, she said to her, "Ha ha ha, I didn't expect you to go to school too. You're still blaming me. You're going to school too." Seeing that the two had almost finished playing, Sirona said to them gently, "Zioxia, Masashi, stop making trouble. It's time for Masashi to eat." Instantly, Zioxia laughed loudly as if she had been injected with chicken blood, and said to Masashi, "Ha ha ha, old auntie, you should try Sister Sirona's cooking. You must finish it all." Masashi sat on the chair and glanced at Zioxia on the phone. She saw deep sympathy in Zioxia's eyes. Obviously, Zioxia had also tasted Sirona's cooking and was impressed. Shirona saw Zioxia on the phone, smiled faintly, and said to Zioxia, "Zioxia, don't be envious. I will cook a big meal for you when you are on vacation." Zioxia was very happy to hear that Masashi wanted to eat Shirona's meal. But when she heard about eating, she felt panic instinctively. After all, Shirona's cooking skills were really outrageous. Chapter 413, Masashi's Little Thoughts. If she could choose, if she still had a chance, then Zioxia definitely didn't want to try Sirona's cooking again. But there was no way. Sirona had already said it. She believed that if she didn't eat it when she was on vacation, Sirona would definitely stare at her and eat it bite by bite. Zioxia looked at Sirona and couldn't help but sigh in her heart, saying that it was a good girl, but unfortunately she had the heart to become a cooking god. Isn't this hurting others and not benefiting herself? The most important thing is that she herself has no idea in her heart, and insists that her food is the most delicious. Then she never eats it, saying that she is afraid that they won't have enough to eat. This is really a bad excuse. They have never felt that they don't have enough to eat. On the contrary, they hope that there will be a few more people to help them solve this black dish. Under Sirona's close gaze, Masashi finally picked up his chopsticks and began to enjoy this delicious dinner. At this time, Masashi suddenly had an idea, and she said to Sirona happily, "Sirona, I'm full, no need to eat anymore." Hearing Masashi's words, Sirona asked half doubtfully, "Really, Masashi? Why is your appetite so small? It shouldn't be like this." Sirona's words made Masashi tremble, and he quickly said to Sirona, "No, I'm really full. You don't have to worry about me." Seeing that Masashi insisted that she was full, Sirona no longer insisted on letting her eat, just said lightly, "Okay, it's good that you are full. From now on, you can treat this place as your home and don't be so formal with us." Seeing that Sirona had let her go, Masashi was relieved and her emotions gradually rose. Thoughts gradually overflowed. As a villain in the original world, Masashi's heart was also extremely complicated. Her own childhood experience taught her how to protect herself. After coming to this world, she followed Zumu to his house. Although both Sirona and Zumu were very good to her, but she knew in her heart that she was an outsider after all, and she couldn't get involved in the lives of two people. No matter how good they were to her, she could clearly feel that the two people were still alienated from her. In order to be able to live well with Zumu and Sirona, she decided to play a role in her future life, at least not to let them hate her. Thinking of this, Masashi happened to see Sirona going to clean up the dishes and chopsticks. She stood up and said to Sirona, "Sirona, let me do it. I don't want to be a freeloader." Hearing Masashi's words, Sirona was stunned, but she reacted instantly. She said to Masashi, "Masashi, you don't need it. You are a guest. How can you let a guest work? Just sit here and have a good rest." But how could Masashi, who had made up his mind, do it? He immediately picked up the dishes on the table and walked towards the kitchen. Seeing Masashi's actions, although Sirona didn't want her to work, she didn't say anything when she saw that she had already taken action. She just shook her head helplessly, picked up the things on the table that had not been cleaned up, and followed Masashi into the kitchen. As soon as Sirona entered the kitchen, she saw Masashi washing dishes. Sirona hurried over, pulled Masashi, and said to her, "Masashi, how can you do this job? You are a guest." Hearing Sirona's words, Masashi smiled and said, "Didn't I just say that I don't want to be a freeloader? I have to do something within my ability." Masashi's words made Sirona feel a little uncomfortable. She only heard her say to Masashi, "Masashi, it is precisely because you are a guest that I can't let you work. Aren't you being polite?" As she said that, she pulled Masashi back to the hall without saying anything and pushed her down on the sofa. She said to her, "Just sit here and I'll do the rest." As she said that, she walked towards the kitchen. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Sirona, who originally wanted to go to the kitchen, had to change her route and walk to the door and open it. After a closer look, it turned out that it was Zumu who came back. Sirona asked in surprise, "Zumu, didn't you go out with your aunt? How come you came back so soon?" Hearing Sirona's question, Zumu's heart was extremely flustered, but he pretended to be calm and said, "Oh, I just had a simple meal with my aunt and I came back. Aunt is in an emergency now. She will find me again tomorrow. I will go out then." After that, he took Sirona's hand and walked into the house. Seeing Masashi sitting on the sofa, Masashi was silent at this time, as if he was doubting his life. Seeing Masashi like this, a sense of guilt arose in Zumu's heart. This poor child must have been hit by Sirona's food. She has just come to this world and has suffered such a trauma. There must be a shadow in her heart. Thinking in his heart, Zumu said to Masashi with apology, "I'm sorry, Masashi, I brought you home but didn't have time to accompany you." After that, Zumu's eyes were full of apology. Originally, Masashi didn't think about these things. After Zumu said this, Masashi felt so wronged that she wanted to die. She looked at Zumu with resentful eyes. It was this man in front of her who brought her here, but he ran away. Originally, she thought this should be a paradise, but she didn't expect it to be more painful than hell. When her thoughts came to this, she still pretended to be indifferent and said to Zumu, "It's okay, if you want to be busy, go and be busy. Don't treat me as an outsider." After saying this, Masashi seemed to remember something, and she asked Zumu, "Zumu, do I still have to go to school?" Hearing Masashi's question, Zumu said lightly, "Of course, in our world, people like you must go to school at your age. You must go. There is no choice." Zumu's words made Masashi wilt like an eggplant hit by frost. She really couldn't accept it. After all, she had been traveling around the world since she was a child and loved adventure very much, but now she was asked to go to school. She didn't know what to do. At this time, she remembered her previous school experience, and she said to Zumu with bitterness, "Zumu, it's not that I don't want to go to school. You don't know, I also went to school, but I didn't even succeed in graduating." Masashi's words made Zumu laugh. He smiled and said to Masashi, "Masashi, don't worry, our school here is different from your school. You can go there without worry. Remember to study hard." After that, he turned to Sirona and said, "Sirona, you haven't eaten yet." Chapter 414 I'm going to the Western Continent, Sirona said in surprise. "Zumu, how did you know?" Zumu looked at Sirona helplessly and said, "How should I know? Now, can you eat other people's food besides the food I cook?" After saying that, Zumu turned and walked towards the kitchen. Masashi looked at the current scene and felt extremely bitter in his heart. We are all human beings. Why are we different? Masashi was about to cry. The two people in front of him were really inhuman. They showed their affection in front of him blatantly and fed him dog food, and he had to eat it. Sirona saw Masashi sitting alone on the sofa, walked over, and said to Masashi, "Masashi, where do you want to go to school?" Hearing Sirona's words, Masashi's mind instantly became active. Yes, it seems that it is a foregone conclusion that he will go to school. If nothing unexpected happens, he will definitely go. The question now is where. Seeing Masashi in thought, Sirona said to him with a smile, "Masashi, you can go to school near us, or go to the West Continent to take classes with Zioxia. Why don't you stay with us? In this way, I can cook for you every day." Hearing Sirona's words, Masashi was instantly shocked and shouted to Sirona, "I want to go to the West Continent. I want to go to class with Zioxia." This voice happened to be heard by Zumu, who came out of the kitchen. Zumu was a little confused. What happened? It was fine just now. Why are they quarreling now? Thinking of this, Zumu quickened his pace, walked to the side of the two, and said to them, "What's wrong? What are you doing?" Hearing Zumu's words, Sirona said to Zumu, "Just now I asked Masashi where she wanted to go to school, and Masashi was very excited to say that she wanted to go to the West Continent to find Zioxia. Their relationship is really good." Hearing Rona's words, Zumu looked at Masashi in confusion. Soon he understood. Masashi said he wanted to go to the Western Continent. How could he have a good relationship with Zioxia? It was obvious that he couldn't stand Shirona's dark cuisine, wanting to escape this terrible nightmare. Thinking of this, Zumu couldn't help but look at Masashi with pity. How traumatized this poor child was here. Thinking of this, he already understood what Masashi meant. Since Masashi wanted to go to the Western Continent, he couldn't say anything. Besides, Masashi went to the Western Continent, and he and Shirona could still live in a world of two. He said to Masashi, "Masashi, since you want to go to the Western Continent, we will arrange for you to go. Get ready and leave tomorrow." After that, Zumu nodded to Shirona. Shirona instantly understood what Zumu meant, took out her mobile phone, and called her father Kyle. Almost instantly, the call was connected, and a voice came from the other side. This voice was the Chief Kyle of the Western Continent. "Hey, Shirona, what's wrong? Do you miss me?" Kyle laughed as he said, "Father, I have something to trouble you this time. Zumu brought back a friend who wants to go to school in the Western Continent. So I still have to trouble you." Kyle was very depressed by Shirona's words. She usually doesn't think of me, but when something happens, she comes to me, and it's Zumu's business. "Hey, my little temper!" Ah, these are all small things. You can ask Zumu's friend to come to the Western Continent now, and Dad will arrange for him. By the way, is his friend still a little girl? Hearing Kyle's words, the smile on Shirona's face stopped immediately, and there was a moment of embarrassment. But soon she recovered, squeezed out a smile, and said to Kyle happily, "Father, thank you so much. Zumu's friend is still a girl." The word "still" was bitten particularly hard. There was a sudden silence on the other side of the phone. Kyle in the Western Continent was as black as a piece of coal at this time. "Still? Another little girl? Damn, what does Zumu think? Do you really want to start a harem in front of me?" "Shirona, give the phone to Zumu, I have something to tell him." Kyle spoke with a dark face. Shirona smiled lightly and handed the phone to Zumu obediently. Zumu took the phone and said to the phone, "Uncle Kyle, what's wrong? I'm Zumu." Hearing Zumu talking, Kyle now almost gritted his teeth and said, "Stay away from Shirona, I have something to tell you." Kyle's words made Zumu a little confused, but he still did it obediently. He walked out of the house, came outside, and said to the phone, "Uncle Kyle, if you have something to say, what's the matter?" After seeing that Sharona could not hear the conversation between him and Zumu, Kyle was like a volcano that suddenly erupted, and shouted loudly, "What's wrong? You still have the nerve to ask me what's wrong? How many girls have you sent to Western Europe? What do you want to do?" Hearing Kyle's words, Zumu laughed at that time. "It seems that this has nothing to do with you, old man, right?" "My uncle?" Sharona couldn't hear it anymore. Not only was Kyle liberated, but Zumu was also completely liberated. "Don't say that I treat Sharona wholeheartedly, even if I really want to start a harem. Do you dare to say anything to me? Give you face." "You." Kyle was immediately numbed by Zumu's hard retort. He was so busy thinking about his precious daughter Sharona being wronged that he forgot that Zumu was even worse than himself. "What do you mean by you?" Zumu retorted mercilessly. "Damn, have you forgotten the last time my parents came to your house to beat you up? Or have you forgotten that I am no longer the little brat you can manipulate? What do you mean by I? Come on, shut up." "What's the matter? Don't you have any respect for elders?" "Shut up, old man. Are you getting cocky? Don't forget that you and Sharona are not married yet." Zumu was also stunned by Kyle's yell. "Well, I was just having fun and forgot about it." "Yes, they are not married yet, so I can't scold this old guy now." Uncle Kyle, I was just talking about the old dog who picks up rags near my house. He is old and still meddling in other people's business. Look at this. Don't you think he should scold me?" Kyle spat lightly and snorted coldly. "Damn you, you came here openly this time, and you beat around the bush and called me a dog? Bastard, come on, take care of your own private life, and I won't waste my words on you. I'll make this clear today, no matter what happens to you in the future, but my Sharona must be the legal wife." Chapter 415. I really don't want this to happen. Damn it. Zumu was completely stunned. He never dreamed that his father-in-law's requirements for him would be so low. "Wait, don't I look like a reliable good man and a good husband?" "Okay, that's all. Explanations are also right. Actions prove everything." Zumu didn't waste any more words and hung up the phone directly. Zumu walked into the house, handed the phone to Sharona, turned around and said to Masashi, "Masashi, things have been arranged for you. Someone will pick you up tomorrow. Congratulations. You are going to school again." Seeing that Zumu was a little abnormal, Sharona asked with concern, "Zumu, what's wrong with you?" Hearing Sharona's words, Zumu said helplessly, "It's okay, Uncle Kyle just talked to me about life ambitions." Seeing that Zumu was fine, Sharona said to Zumu coquettishly, "Then, I'm hungry. Is the meal ready?" Sharona's words made Zumu suddenly remember that the meal he had just made for Sharona was still in the pot, so he turned and walked towards the kitchen. Masashi really didn't want to watch the two of them being so affectionate, so he quickly said to Sharona, "Miss Sharona, where should I stay tonight?" Then he remembered that Masashi was still there, and smiled and said, "Masashi, come with me." Then he took Masashi's hand and took her into the guest room. Masashi, who entered the room, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he didn't have to watch the performances of these two people anymore. Day after day, the two of them would make a whole show. They didn't treat her Masashi as a human being at all. No wonder Zioxia had to go to school in the West Continent. Sharona, who sent Masashi back to Masashi, came to the living room again, only to see Zumu had already put the food on the table, and a feeling of happiness arose leisurely. Sharona said to Zumu with a happy face, "Zumu, if I can have an ice cream at this time, I will be even happier." Sharona's words made Zumu happy. This Sharona would never forget the ice cream no matter what. In her eyes, you can skip meals, but you can't live without ice cream. Since Sharona had already said that, Zumu had no choice but to say to Sharona, "Sharona, eat well now, I'll get it for you now." Hearing Zumu's words, Sharona cheered and said to Zumu happily, "Okay, you must be quick." After that, she sat on the chair and started to eat. At this time, Zumu went to get ice cream for Sharona. Walking towards the refrigerator full of ice cream, Zumu muttered to himself. Every day, the child felt wronged. Everyone thought that he was going to open a harem, but he was really not that kind of person. He just wanted to live quietly with Sirona now. When everything was over, he wanted to take Sirona around the world. Now, everyone thought he was the kind of philandering person. Zumu really wanted to gather everyone together and tell them he was really not that kind of person. But Zumu also knew in his heart that even if he really did that, this group of people would still not believe him. So, Zumu felt that he had it too hard. There is a feeling in this world that everyone is drunk and I am the only one awake. There is an old saying that time can prove everything. Now he can only slowly prove his feelings for Sirona through time. Let time tell those people that there is only Sirona in his heart. He really doesn't want anyone else. Recalling his sad journey, Zumu truly felt a sense of responsibility and long way to go. It's all the fault of the dog system. It's all the fault of it. If it weren't for it, there wouldn't be so many troubles. What kind of collection task? Damn, it's really Buddha. Ding. Please respect yourself. The system really doesn't mean that. You dog system, didn't you say you wouldn't monitor me? How come you know everything I think? Do you still say you have no intelligence? Host, you have to know that you and I are bound together. No matter what you think in your heart, I know it. Ignoring this dog system, Zumu cursed a few words inwardly, took the ice cream for Sirona and walked back. Looking back, Zumu saw Sirona sitting on the sofa obediently waiting for the arrival of ice cream. Seeing such a Sirona, Zumu couldn't help but feel a little funny. This Sirona, for ice cream, she doesn't care about anything. She is indeed a loyal admirer of ice cream. Zumu said to Sirona helplessly, Sirona, your ice cream. Seeing Zumu bring back the ice cream, Sirona cheered, took it quickly, and said to Zumu with a happy face, Zumu, thank you. After that, she ignored Zumu and concentrated on eating ice cream. Looking at the happy Sirona in front of him, Zumu shook his head helplessly. He didn't know what was so delicious about this thing. It can make Sirona so fascinated. But this is his wife. What's wrong with liking to eat something? He had no other words. He could only spoil her. This is my wife? I just raise her. No one can say it. Sirona, you eat first. I'll go to clean up the dishes. Sirona, who focused all her attention on the ice cream, heard Zumu talking, just nodded casually and echoed. Seeing Sirona like this, Zumu smiled helplessly, and then began to clean up. At this time, Masashi, who came out to drink water, saw Zumu's actions. He hurriedly ran down from upstairs and shouted at Zumu, Zumu, put it down, let me do it. After that, he ignored Zumu and started to clean up. Masashi's words made Zumu stunned. Then, Zumu reacted. He knew Masashi's little thoughts. She was afraid that Zumu would not take her back to her world. It must be said that Masashi is also a poor person. She was fine in her own world, but suddenly appeared in another world, acting over and over again following the program. After finally escaping, she came to Zumu's world and could only wait, waiting for Zumu to find a way to help her return to the elf world. After that, she still had to go to school, which was really funny. Now in Zumu's home, it was very similar to her own situation when her mother disappeared when she was a child and was adopted by a family. Having experienced hardships in his childhood, Masashi knew what he should do to survive in a strange place. Thinking of this, Zumu felt that he needed to have a good talk with Masashi. He told her not to be so restrained. If so, not only would she feel uncomfortable, but Zumu and Sirona would also feel uncomfortable. Chapter 416. She is my aunt indeed. Therefore, Zumu felt that it was necessary to let Masashi release his inner restraint. Thinking of this, Zumu said to Masashi, who was still busy, Masashi, I will talk to you later. Now I will work with you. After that, Zumu also started to clean up with Masashi. Logically, Sirona should be angry when seeing such a scene. At the very least, she would be a little sour. But now Sirona has put all her thoughts on ice cream and ignored Zumu. Seeing Sirona at this time, Zumu smiled. This child, really, ice cream is life. After cleaning up, Zumu said to Masashi, Masashi, I know what you are thinking. Don't worry. I will definitely do what I promised you, and you don't have to be so polite. Masashi was stunned, and was a little confused by Zumyu's words at first. Then she reacted and felt warm in her heart again. She never thought that there would be a man who could see through her fragility. In fact, she didn't do it on purpose. She just wanted to integrate here as soon as possible since she had just arrived. Zumyu didn't expect that. He just wanted to tell Masashi that he didn't need to be so restrained here. At this time, Masashi said to Zumyu, "I'm not being a stranger. I just don't want to be a freeloader." Zumyu shook his head and said, "You are still too stranger. From now on, you should treat this place as your home and don't worry about anything. I know what you think. Don't think too much in the future. I actually know all your experiences. I also feel sorry for your experiences. Don't hide yourself. This is your home." After saying that, Zumyu looked at Masashi with a sincere face. Zumyu's words touched Masashi very much. She looked at the sincere Zumyu with tears in her eyes. She nodded fiercely to Zumyu. Seeing that Masashi understood what he meant, Zumyu said to her, "Okay, it's getting late. You should also go to bed early. You will go to school in Western Europe tomorrow." Hearing Zumyu's words, Masashi nodded again and turned back to her room. Zumyu looked at Masashi's back and shook his head. This Masashi was good in everything except that he was too afraid of being hurt. Zumyu had clearly told her that he would not hurt her. He would find a suitable opportunity to take her back to her world. Maybe it was her childhood personality that made her so cautious and wary of everyone. Although this is a good thing, it is too easy to hurt others in interpersonal relationships. Now that Masashi has come to him, he will never let Masashi get hurt again, and will slowly help Masashi correct this personality. These are all small things. Tomorrow Masashi will go to Western Europe. I hope she and Zioxia can have a good life. If there were no dog system to arrange tasks for these protagonists, he would never have any entanglement with these protagonists. If you want to blame it, blame the dog system for being too inhuman. Sorry, the dog system is not a human. Huh? That's not right. Logically, the dog system should come out to refute it now. Could it be that the dog system is asleep now? Ding. I hope the host will not criticize others behind their backs. This is a bad habit. Look, this is not talking about Cow Cow. Cow Cow is here. This dog system never does serious things. It disappears when you talk nicely. As long as you talk about it behind its back, it becomes active. Thinking of this, Zumyu said to the dog system, "Okay, you have nothing to do here. Go back." The dog system did not speak again at this time. It began to disappear. Seeing that the dog system was not talking, Zumyu was too lazy to pay attention to it. He came to Sirona again and said to Sirona, "Sirona, you have finished eating ice cream. Do you want to go back to sleep?" After saying that, he looked at Sirona with expectation. Seeing Zumyu's look, Sirona nodded shyly. She walked into the house hand in hand with Zumyu, thinking too much. "Get out!" The next day, the ringing of the mobile phone woke Zumyu from his sleep. Just now, Zumyu answered the phone, and said to the phone with resentment in a daze, "Who is it?" Zhu Zioxiao's voice came from the other side of the phone. "Zumyu, the sun is shining on your butt. Why haven't you gotten up yet? Did you forget that you have to accompany your aunts for dinner today?" Hearing Zhu Zioxiao's words, Zumyu suddenly remembered that he had to accompany his aunts to chat about family matters today. At this time, he hurriedly said, "How could I forget, Aunt Zioxiao? I have been waiting for your call." "Where are you in Andlu? Send me the address. I will go there right away." Zhu Zioxiao on the other end of the phone said, "Okay, Zumyu, I will send you the address now. Don't worry, just take your time." After that, Zhu Zioxiao hung up the phone. Zumyu saw the hung-up phone, smiled faintly, looked at Sharona lying in his arms, and kissed her gently. After being kissed, Sharona slowly opened her eyes, looking at Zumyu in front of her. She closed her eyes shyly again, said to Zumyu, "What's wrong? Has your aunt found you? Just go with peace of mind. I will take good care of myself." Hearing what Sharona said, Zumyu was a little surprised. Is the tacit understanding between him and Sirona so high now, even though he hasn't said it yet? Sirona has already guessed it. It's really a telepathic connection. Thinking of this, Zumyu smiled gently and said to Sirona, "Okay, you sleep for a while. I'll go cook for you first. Remember to eat later. You take good care of yourself at home." After that, Zoomu got up and walked towards the kitchen. As for what I just said to Zooxiao, I'm sorry, the world is big, and Sirona is the biggest. After a while, Zoomu, who had cooked for Sirona, walked out of the house. Now he is going to find his aunt. He opened his mobile phone and saw the address. The restaurant is really not that far away from him. He can walk there. Not long after, Zoomu came to the restaurant and said to the waiter, "I'm looking for Zooxiao." Hearing Zoomu's words, the waiter quickly reacted and said to Zoomu, "Sir, please follow me." After that, he went upstairs. Zoomu took a look and followed. After going upstairs, Zoomu immediately saw his two aunts, who were talking happily in a corner. Although it was a corner, Zoomu clearly felt that the eyes of the men around him would occasionally sweep over his two aunts. Seeing this, Zoomu smiled faintly. Yes, the looks of his two aunts were the best anywhere. It was normal to be the focus here. At this moment, Zulu, who was standing aside, also saw Zoomu. She waved to Zoomu. Chapter 417. Something happened to the electric cat. The electric cat is here. Everyone stand up. Seeing Zulu calling him, Zoomu walked straight over. He said to the two aunts, "Sorry, Aunt Zooxiao, Aunt Lu, I'm late." Hearing Zoomu's words, Zooxiao smiled gently and said to Zoomu, "Zoomu is not late, just in time for the meal." Zulu also said, "Sister, I just talked to Zoomu a while ago, asking him to prepare to accept the position of the head of our Zoo family." Zooxiao was stunned by Zulu's words, and then said to Zulu, "Don't say it, I have this idea too." Zoomu has grown up and is capable of taking on the responsibility of reviving our Zoo family. Zooxiao and Zulu's words made Zoomu a little numb. Every day, any of the seven aunts would persuade him to become the head of the Zoo family when they saw him. Oh, it's really frustrating. Seeing that the two aunts were getting more and more excited, Zoomu quickly said to Zooxiao, "Aunt Zooxiao, you came here this time to get some Pokémon file." Hearing Zoomu's words, Zooxiao suddenly became serious. She didn't answer Zoomu, but turned to Zulu and said, "Zulu, I need your help this time." Seeing Zooxiao's serious expression, Zulu also put away her smile and said to Zooxiao, "Sister, tell me what it is, and I will definitely help." Seeing that Zulu agreed to her directly, Zooxiao continued, "This time I'm here to get a Pokémon file. It's a mythical Pokémon. It's in a secret realm this time, besieged by an evil organization, and is now seriously injured. I'm going to rescue it now, but I'm not strong enough now. So, I want you to help me rescue it." Hearing Zooxiao's words, Zulu suddenly laughed, and said to Zooxiao, "Ha ha ha, Sister Zooxiao, you don't have to worry about lack of strength. Don't you know that we have a high combat power around us?" Zooxiao was stunned by Zulu's words. He was right beside them. Could it be their eldest brother? With doubt, Zooxiao asked, "Are you talking about the eldest brother?" "But the eldest brother is not at the border. Can he come back?" Zulu shook her head and said to Zooxiao, "This person is not the eldest brother. He is far away and close at hand." As she said that, she looked at Zoomu. Zoomu, who was suddenly seen by Zulu, shuddered all over and said to Zulu, "Aunt Lu, why are you looking at me?" Zoomu didn't want to move back and forth now. He just wanted to stay with Sharona. Zooxiao heard what Zulu said and also cast her eyes on Zoomu. She said to Zoomu, "Zoomu, go and show it with Sister Zooxiao this time. She has been in the laboratory of the hospital all year round and doesn't pay attention to anything. Now she doesn't even know that you are the first on the Tanbang. Perform well this time. Don't embarrass your aunt." Seeing that Zulu said so, Zoomu had no choice but to nod and agree. Zooxiao looked at Zoomu in astonishment. She was indeed very deceived. As a female doctor with a 2G network, she really didn't pay attention to what was happening outside. In addition, the situation was urgent, so she didn't say much nonsense and said directly, "Zoomu, the place we are going to this time is a secret place, and the elf we are saving is called Zeraora. It is a mythical Pokémon with a combat power comparable to that of a mythical beast. This time it has been targeted by the Hunters Guild." Zoomu heard this and asked in doubt, "Hunters Guild? Why haven't I heard of this organization before?" Speaking of the Hunters Guild, Zulu's expression also became serious, and said to Zumyu, I have also heard a little about the Hunters Guild. This organization is a very evil organization. They have the ability to travel through space, so they keep capturing high combat elves in various spaces to achieve their goal of unifying the world. Hearing this, Zumyu smiled disdainfully. In his eyes, this group of people are just a group of rats. They dare not appear in front of people at all, and can only sneak around to cause damage. Isn't the Hunter organization just that? Trash that can't survive 10,000 words. Thinking of this, Zumyu said to Zioxiao with disdain, and Zioxiao, don't worry, leave it to me, I will definitely help you do it clearly. Zumyu's words made Zioxiao happy. She smiled and said to Zumyu, we know that you are very capable, but you must be careful and don't let that group of people take any chances. Remember, no matter what, your safety is the most important. After saying that, she looked at Zumyu with concern. Feeling Zioxiao's concern, Zumyu's heart warmed. No matter what, it was his relatives who cared about him the most. He calmly said to Zioxiao, and Zioxiao, don't worry, I will take good care of myself. Seeing Zumyu with a confident face, Zioxiao couldn't help but sigh in her heart. This child in front of her is really a gift from God to the revival of the Zhu family. No matter how you look at it, Zumyu is surprisingly perfect, which makes Zioxiao more determined to talk to her elder sister and pass the position of the head of the family to Zumyu as soon as possible. Thinking about it, Zioxiao still said to Zumyu with concern, Zumyu, this mission is very dangerous. Andy will give you a few assistants to help you complete the mission together. Hearing Zioxiao's words, Zumyu smiled awkwardly. No, Andy Zioxiao, I can do it alone. If you bring other people, they will not only not be able to help me, but may also become a burden to me. After saying that, he looked at Zioxiao seriously. However, although Zioxiao wanted to believe Zumyu, she was worried about him going on the mission alone. Once something unexpected happened, she would be the sinner of the Zhu family. This situation made her a little embarrassed. Seeing Zioxiao's embarrassment, Zulu said to Zioxiao, Sister Zioxiao, how about this? I will go with Zumyu. We can take care of each other. This way, you can rest assured. Hearing Zulu's words, Zioxiao thought for a while, nodded, and said to Zulu, okay, I will leave Zumyu to you. You have to protect Zumyu well. Zioxiao's words made Zulu smile bitterly. If her sister Zioxiao doesn't know, how can she not know how high Zumyu's combat power is? Not to mention protecting him herself. I'm afraid that even if there is an accident, it is Zumyu who protects himself. As if seeing through Zulu's thoughts, Zumyu didn't say much, but just said to Zioxiao, and Zioxiao, which secret realm is this Zera Aura located in? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 418, Thunder Secret Realm. Hearing Zumyu's question, Zioxiao said to him, I will send you the address of the Thunder Secret Realm in a while. You can set off after dinner. Hearing Zioxiao's words, Zumyu nodded and thought of something thoughtfully. I originally thought that I would spend some time with Shirona during this period of time. Who would have thought that I would suddenly be assigned a task? Alas, I can only wait until this task is over before I can accompany my lovely Shirona. How can Shirona live without me? In a moment, Zumyu, who was in deep thought, was interrupted by Zulu. Zumyu, we are ready to go. Let's go to the secret realm that your aunt Zioxiao mentioned now. Hearing Zulu's words, Zumyu came back to his senses and nodded to Zulu. He said, okay, aunt, let's set off then. With that, he walked out first. Zulu saw Zumyu's actions and was stunned. Curiously asked, Zumyu, do you know the place? Hearing Zulu's words, Zumyu reacted. Yes, he didn't know the place. No, he hadn't acted cool for too long, and now he heard that there was an opportunity to act cool. He couldn't control his legs. No, it should be said that his legs couldn't bear to act cool anymore. Thinking of this, Zoomu couldn't help but feel a little funny. It seems that he has been lonely for a few days without acting cool. Thinking about it, he said to Zulu, "And, then you lead the way, I'll follow you." Hearing Zumu's words, Zulu rolled her eyes at him. "This little Mew is so cute. Why didn't I realize that Zumu's had such a cute side before? Ah, I'm going to die. Time is running out, and there is no time for Zulu to think about it." Zulu said to Zumu's seriously, "Zumu's, let's go." Hearing Zulu's words, Zumu's nodded. Following the address given by Zuzioxiel, Zumu's and the others came to the entrance of the Thunder Secret Realm. Seeing that they had already arrived, Zumu's said to Zulu, "And Lu, I can go in by myself. If you follow me in, I may not be able to take care of you." Hearing Zumu's words, Zulu's heart was full of helplessness, and she knew it herself. Perhaps her strength was top-notch in the entire Magic City, but in Zumu's place, she was nothing. Hearing Zumu say this, she didn't even have the confidence to refute, because there was really nothing wrong with what Zumu's said. Helplessly, she could only nod and said to Zumu's, "Okay, Zumu's, Auntie won't go in with you. You protect yourself and don't get into any accidents." Seeing Zulu's concerned eyes, Zumu's wanted to tell her. Even if Zulu outside had an accident, he would not be in any trouble, but he really couldn't say this. He was afraid of the destructive power of his current battle. "I'm afraid that the Thunder Secret Realm will not be saved." Shaking his head, Zumu's stepped into the Secret Realm, followed closely by Arceus, who had just come out of the Pokeball. This little guy hadn't come out for a breath of fresh air for a long time. He suddenly breathed in fresh air and seemed unusually active. Seeing the excited Arceus, Zumu's said to it, "Arceus, stop making trouble. Can you sense the energy fluctuations nearby?" Hearing Zumu's words, Arceus' voice rang in Zumu's heart. "Yes, I have sensed that there is a big battle nearby." Hearing Arceus' words, Zumu's said lightly, "Then take me there." Following Arceus' footsteps, Zumu's rode this Lugia and came to the interior of the Secret Realm. A big battle broke out here. Zumu's only saw hundreds of people here, madly beating a black and yellow elf. He looked carefully and saw that it was Zeraora. At this time, his eyes were red, and he was obviously in a violent state. He didn't distinguish between friend and foe at all. It can be said that he would beat anyone he saw. Zumu's, who was standing on the periphery, saw this battle and his mind instantly became active. The situation in front of him is really great. The electric cat fell into a frenzy, and at this time, it was in a state of continuous fighting. When it saw the elves, it would use a plasma lightning fist to kill them one by one. But there were so many elves. Hundreds of people were here, thousands of elves. One fell, and another jumped out quickly. However, although the distance was far, Zumu's could vaguely see that the electric cat was definitely injured at this time. The blood mixed with the blood of the enemy was spreading on his arm. At this time, ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering the special task, conquering Zeraora. Task reward, 7 wound fist training secrets. Do you accept the task? Hearing the voice of the system, Zumu's smiled. This dog system, it really can't leave anything behind. It can get involved in everything. It's really a dog system. It monitors people and refuses to admit it. Thinking of this, Zumu's said to the system in his heart, "Accept the task." Ding! The host accepts the task. After receiving the response, Zumu's looked at the battlefield in front of him indifferently, without the urge to move. The situation on the battlefield was extremely tense. A man wearing a mask and a black windbreaker stood steadily at the back, watching the fight between the group of people. Zumu's didn't even need to think about it. This man was definitely the leader. This man who seemed to be the leader shouted to the people around him, "Brothers, this electric cat is dying. Everyone, work harder and catch it. We can't let our elves die in vain." The younger brothers around him heard the big brother's words and fought very hard. Some sensible younger brothers responded loudly, "Brother, it seems that we have a good grasp of this mission. You will definitely be praised when you return to the base. You may even become the 13th president. You must help the younger brothers when the time comes." "That's right, brother, you will be rich this time." The commander, who was about to be praised to the sky, laughed and shouted to the younger brothers, "Ha ha ha, brothers, as long as I can become the president, I will remember your contributions firmly in my heart. Don't worry. As long as I have a bite to eat, the brothers will definitely have a bite to drink. Zumu, who was watching the game outside the field, couldn't help laughing when he heard his words. What kind of funny people are all in this hunter guild? He beats this kind of people one by one, and he beats a group of them. Alas, he really doesn't understand this kind of low-level people. The masked man on the field was filled with joy at this time, let alone anything else. Among the many commanders of the Hunter Guild, which commander can reach this level? That's a mythical Pokémon. Even if my brothers tried their best, they couldn't catch it. But now, I'm about to catch this Zeraora. By then, I will definitely become the 13th president and be on par with the trainers recognized by the mythical beasts. Chapter 419, Resurrected with Full Health. While the masked man was thinking happily, the electric cat in the center of the battlefield looked very pitiful. The famous electric cat was beaten by a group of extremely weak elves. Although, with the ability of the electric cat, he was not afraid of any of the people present, but two fists could not beat four hands. He was fighting hard, and he couldn't say his pain in his heart. He found the electric fruit first, but these old hooligans came up to snatch it. They didn't take him, the electric cat, seriously at all. This is his thing. No one can take it away, even if he fights to the end. It is this will that has allowed the seriously injured electric cat to persist until now. Seeing that the electric cat was in low spirits, the masked man on the sign laughed and shouted to the people around him. They said that this mythical Pokémon was very smart, but in my opinion, it's just a fool. It has been guarding that broken fruit until now. He really doesn't know that this is a trap set for him. It really makes me laugh to death. Why is no one coming to save this fool now? I can't wait. The speaker is unintentional, but the listener is intentional. Zumu, who was outside the battlefield, also heard this. His emotions surged. The masked man on the battlefield revealed a very important piece of information. They were not only trying to capture the electric cat, but also setting up a big game. Then Zuzioxiao's words, Zumu understood it all in an instant. From Zuzioxiao's knowledge that the electric cat was seriously injured, to the fact that there were so many of them, it was a trap set for the high-level staff of the Magic City. But Zumu didn't understand why they were doing it. Forget it. He didn't want to think about it anymore. At this time, Arceus on the side saw the electric cat in the field. His eyes were instantly filled with fighting spirit. For him, what he disliked most was this kind of unfairness. He looked at Zumu, and at the same time, Zumu remembered his voice in his heart. Zumu, let me go. Arceus' words made Zumu laugh. Why use a butcher knife to kill a chicken? He shook his head at Arceus and said lightly, you are not needed in this battle. Let whoever has the problem solve it. As he said that, he slapped the Pokeball on his waist, only to see the legendary Nurse Celebi appear beside him. Zumu pointed at the electric cat in the field and said, Celebi, do you see the electric cat in the field? Give him some milk. Don't let him die. Zumu's words made Celebi stunned. What does it mean to nurse him? As Zumu pointed his finger at the field, he understood it. The people who were still besieging the electric cat and others were surprised to see that the electric cat, who was seriously injured just now, became full of energy again. He was almost dying just now, and he could hardly swing his fist, but now he can kill a kid with one punch. What's going on? Is this thing cheating? The most confused one is the masked man. He doesn't understand why the stupid thing that was about to die just now is full of energy now. The electric cat in the field also doesn't understand. Just now, his blue bar was emptied. But for some reason, he is full of energy again and his injuries are healed. Feeling his own strength, the electric cat clenched his fist again, and just like before, he punched a kid with one punch. Zumu on the side saw the situation in the field and felt a little funny in his heart. With him, the electric cat will definitely be fine. How could the electric cat lose? What a joke. Sure enough, the electric cat on the battlefield did not disappoint Zumu. With high combat power and Celebi's high-level healing, one punch after another, even a normal attack can produce a critical hit. The masked man was panicking after being beaten. Seeing that his younger brothers were in low spirits, he shouted to his men, brothers, keep working hard. This fool must have some trump card. If we can beat him once, We can beat him again. At this time, Zumu said to Arceus next to him lightly, "Arceus, tell that electric cat to fight as much as he wants." There are people behind him to support him. Arceus, who was very obedient, took action immediately and activated telepathy. A voice suddenly sounded in the heart of the electric cat who was killing all around. "Zoroark, we are here to help you." My master said, "Let you play as much as you want, and we will support you behind." But the electric cat, who had already fallen into a violent state, didn't care who was who. He only knew to fight one by one now, and his fighting instinct drove him. Following the direction of the energy fluctuation, he saw Zumu at a glance. The fighting will directly locked Zumu and killed him with a charge. Zumu, who was standing outside the field, was a little helpless. It was just a sentence. He rushed over now. Thinking of this, Zumu slapped the electric cat when it rushed over. As a result, the electric cat that was killing people just now fell to the ground in the eyes of everyone. Shock. Seeing this situation, the most speechless person was the masked man. He was a little numb now. So many elves died and so much energy was wasted, and now someone else took advantage of it. He slowly looked at the people around him. It was okay. He had hundreds of people. Look at Zumu again. Not bad, just one person. In an instant, his confidence burst. So, in the admiring eyes of his younger brothers, he shouted arrogantly, "Boy, bring me the electric cat you just knocked down, otherwise you will be in trouble. Don't think you are awesome just because you have an elf that I can't call out. I don't even care about the Lugia behind you." Wait? Question mark. Fuck. Lugia. After saying that, the masked man reacted instantly. What kind of background does this kid have? He actually brought a Lugia and bumped into him. It's really like an old man who has lived long enough. His mind became active at this time. I don't know what kind of shit luck I had today. Not only did I meet the electric cat, but I was also able to plot against the people in the Magic City, and I also ran into a Lugia. This thing can't be sought. As long as he gets these two elves to the headquarters, it can be said that he will become the 13th president. It's a done deal. Thinking of this, he shouted loudly to Zumu, "Boy, send your Lugia and electric cat to me, and I will spare your life and let you go home safely. Otherwise don't blame me for being cruel." After saying that, he looked at Zumu with expectation, and his eyes were telling Zumu, "Send it over quickly, and I will let you go." Zumu on the side was speechless for a moment, and he suddenly felt that he had never been so speechless in his life. Can't this funny guy see that he can knock down the electric cat with a slap, and he can withstand his slap? It's so funny. Zumu said disdainfully, "If you want it, just come and get it yourself." After saying that, he looked at the masked man expressionlessly. Chapter 420. Brother, I kneel down. Feeling Zumu's eyes, the masked man was a little angry. There were hundreds of people around him, but he was the only one. How could he not understand? He was really convinced. Since this kid didn't want to be nice, he didn't need to give him any face. Clearing his mind, he shouted loudly to his men, "Brothers, take this kid down for me, and make him kneel down and call me daddy." A group of men who had been waiting for orders for a long time heard the eldest brother speak, and rushed towards Zumu like wild horses. When Zumu heard his words, a cold light flashed in his eyes. The masked man in front of him really didn't know what was good for him. He dared to say anything. "Are you qualified to be my dad?" Since he was looking for death, he couldn't blame others. Zumu only heard Celebi order, "Celebi, wake up that electric cat for me, and let these people continue to live in fear." Such a piece of trash. Why don't you accompany us to fight? Hearing Zumu's words, Celebi immediately used his skills to wake up the electric cat on the ground. The dazed electric cat just opened his eyes, only to see Zumu smiling at him evilly, and was immediately startled. Damn, why hasn't this devil left yet? Immediately, Zoroark turned around and rushed directly towards the masked man without saying a word, entering a state of continuous combat. So, the scene just now appeared again at this time. The masked man on the side suddenly found that today's events were a little out of his control. First, the originally injured electric cat suddenly had full status, and then met a mysterious man with the mythical beast Lugia. While he was stunned, his elves suffered heavy casualties again. This made the masked man's family, which was not rich to begin with. Even worse. But after a while, the electric cat was almost crazy, and it was definitely killing people and killing Buddhas. As long as he was not allowed to turn around and face Zumu, he was willing to bear everything. In a short while, the opposite side was killed by Zeraora, who was resurrected with full blood. The masked man was very confused now, and a familiar background music seemed to come to his ears. The cold ice rain hits my face randomly when the younger brothers next to him saw the situation in front of them, and then met Zeraora's murderous eyes. They immediately trembled and said to the masked man, Big brother, should we retreat in this situation?" The masked man was also a little panicked at this time. Hearing the words of his younger brothers, he nodded in panic and said, Yes, retreat, brothers, let's retreat." Zumu, who was watching the excitement on the side, couldn't help laughing when he heard their words. "Want to run? Did you ask me?" Zumu, before he could think about it, he saw the masked man and a group of younger brothers running back in a panic. Zumu saw that this group of people wanted to run away, and he sneered immediately. He directly used telekinesis to control the masked man in place. So, the poor masked man could only watch his younger brothers scatter, and he stood still. After controlling the masked man, Zumu slowly walked towards the electric cat. Zeraora on the side watched Zumu walk towards him step by step. Immediately, the cat fur on the whole body lay down obediently, and instantly became like an obedient elementary school student, without any movement. Zumu glanced at the electric cat indifferently and said nothing. It didn't matter if he didn't speak, but in the electric cat's heart, a huge wave was rolling. What is this devil going to do? Covering his face, Zeraora was terrified. So obedient? Seeing that Zeraora didn't cry or run, Zumu sneered. "Why do I feel that I am becoming more and more like a villain now?" "Forget it. If someone respects me 1 foot, I will respect him 10 feet. Since Zeraora is obedient, let's deal with that little fish first." Shaking his head, Zumu looked at the masked man again, showing a sunny smile, and slowly said, "I just heard you say that you want to be my father?" When the masked man heard Zumu's words, cold sweat covered his forehead in an instant. He immediately knelt down, and said in a trembling voice, "Brother, no, I didn't." Just now, those younger brothers were ignorant. They said nonsense. Don't take it too seriously. Look, I'm kneeling down for you. The child is ignorant. The child is wrong. You are magnanimous. This scene is so familiar. Zumu smiled bitterly and shook his head in his heart. Should I release the control for you next, and then give you a chance to do something and turn the tide? Then laugh at me and say that the villain dies because of talking too much? Haha. Zumu sneered and released his telekinesis. "I want to see what tricks you can play. I will be the villain today." Thinking in his heart, Zumu looked at the masked man teasingly. The guy was still crying and begging for mercy, but the moment he felt that the control was released, he directly took out a red controller and clicked it. Then, he laughed wildly at Zumu and taunted him. "Ha ha ha, idiot. You shouldn't have released my control. I tell you, you'd better let me go now, otherwise, when our president comes, you will definitely die." Zumu looked as if it was just as he expected, and took a breath awkwardly. "Do all the opponents now have the template of the protagonist, or am I, the protagonist, assigned the template of the villain?" "Wait, this guy said the president, and the big boss? That's great. Come on, I just feel itchy recently." Thinking of this, Zumu laughed again, and casually controlled the masked man with telekinesis again. "Can you see what's going on now? The problem now is that you are kneeling on the ground and I am standing. Don't you feel embarrassed like this? Damn it, you are in my hands. Why are you screaming? What can I do if your boss comes? I have 100 ways to kill you before he comes. Believe it?" "Where's the frog?" "Frog." Hearing Zumu's words, Greninja jumped out of the Pokeball by itself, looking at Zumu expectantly. "Cool, what's wrong? Is there a mission?" Zumu nodded slowly. "Well, this guy is a little disobedient. If he doesn't behave himself, I'll leave it to you." Hearing this, Greninja immediately showed a cruel smile on his face. He made an okay gesture, then stared at the masked man with a covetous look, thinking to himself, "Don't be disobedient. Don't be disobedient. Zumyu's actions made the masked man suddenly realize it. The cold sweat that had just disappeared covered his forehead again. He glanced at the frog who was staring at him eagerly, and said tremblingly, Big brother. You really can't kill me. I just pressed the signal, and my president will be here soon. If he finds out that I'm dead, he will really kill you, for you and for me. Let's be good and peaceful. We all love peace, don't we? Chapter 421. Someone from the Hunters Guild is coming. After saying that, he looked at Zumyu expectantly. The masked man's actions really made Zumyu speechless. You said that you should either be tough or you should be submissive. You are neither tough nor soft. What can I say? Speechless, Zumyu said to the masked man. Now I ask you, what is the purpose of your hunter association? Hearing what Zumyu said to him, the masked man was delighted. It seems that he survived. Congratulations, he quickly said to Zumyu in a flattering tone. Brother, let me tell you, our Hunters Guild is very complicated. We have 12 presidents, and each president has a divine beast in his hand. Do you believe it? How about this configuration? Isn't it awesome? Also, there are hundreds of small leaders like me in our Hunters Guild. Don't look at me like this. I tell you, I am also one of the best among our small leaders. I'm not kidding you about this. You know, above our small leaders are the big commanders. There are dozens of them, and each of them has 10 small leaders under them. At this time, Zumyu's head was full of black lines. Why didn't this masked man notice it just now? This guy is so talkative. He has been talking for a long time, but there is not a single useful word. Stop talking nonsense. Can you give me something nutritious and get to the point? Zumyu sorted out his thoughts, sneered and said to the masked man, I don't care how many of you there are. Just tell me, what is the purpose of your hunter guild? What do you want to do? The masked man was a little excited at this time, and didn't pay attention to Zumyu's tone. Hearing Zumyu's words, he once again mentioned the state just now, and said to Zumyu with excitement, Brother, I tell you, you are the only person who has listened to me so much in such a long time. I feel that you are the best person to me besides my mom and dad. As he spoke, the masked man actually started crying and said to Zumyu. Zumyu could clearly see that the masked man's eyes were full of tears. At this time, Zumyu really wanted to kill him. He was really speechless. He didn't realize that this person was a chatterbox just now. If he knew he was a chatterbox, he would kill him before he ran away. Feeling that he was a little emotionally broken, Zumyu said to the masked man, Tell me what spirits your presidents have. Hearing Zumyu's words, the masked man said with admiration in his eyes, Brother, if we talk about our presidents, they are all influential figures, all outstanding people. The masked man's words made Zumyu laugh. It seems that these presidents are all very arrogant and have high standards. Then let them come, let me tell them how to be humble. Clearing his mind, Zumyu said to the masked man, When will your president arrive? As he said that, he looked at the masked man with sharp eyes. The masked man saw Zumyu's eyes and shuddered involuntarily. He said, Brother, I don't know either, but I think he will be here soon. What is his number as president and what are his abilities? The question raised by Zumyu made the masked man a little embarrassed. If he said it, he would betray the president. If he didn't say it, he might be gone. This is the familiar two-choice stage. Zumyu had seen through the masked man's mind and said to him, Is it so difficult to choose between protecting the secrets of your organization and protecting your life? Zumyu's words made the masked man react instantly. Yes, if he betrayed the organization, he could still explain it after returning to the organization, but if he didn't betray it, he might not be able to return to the organization. The masked man, who had made up his mind, said to Zumyu weakly, Brother, I told you, you can't betray me. Can you let me go? Seeing the hesitant masked man in front of him, Zumyu felt a little funny. He suppressed his smile and said to the masked man, Don't worry, as long as you confess and treat me leniently, and resist and treat me severely, I will definitely let you go. Hearing this, the masked man was delighted. What is this smell? Isn't this the smell of freedom? He will be free soon. Thinking of this, the masked man shouted loudly to Zumyu, Brother, let me tell you, the president who will come soon is the #1 president. His code name is the number 0 Fool, and he is also my immediate superior. As he spoke, The admiration in the masked man's eyes never disappeared. Every president has a divine beast, and the fool's divine beast is a divine beast called Zekrom, extremely strong. Zekrom? Zumyu knew this elf and was very familiar with it. In the original world, Zekrom and Reshiram were originally accidentally split from the same elf. The split Zekrom belongs to the side of the twin heroes who pursues ideals. Zekrom is a elf that can use staggered lightning and lightning. When it explodes or uses staggered lightning and lightning, its tail will rotate back and emit a blue-green light, and at the same time generate powerful power. This state of releasing powerful electricity is called overclocking drive mode by everyone. It will also create an anti-gravity field so that it can float in the air and fly, and it can also be affected by air resistance and the attraction of the earth. At the same time, it often produces thunderstorms wherever it is. Zekrom is an elf who believes in ideals and guides the world to be filled with hope. It is willing to help those who are conscious and pursue their ideals. But if you spurn your ideals and degenerate, Zekrom will mercilessly destroy this person with lightning. Zekrom and Reshiram in the Wish World destroyed the Unova region established by the twin heroes. In the Wish World, Victini and the Black Hero Zekrom appear and serve the ideal hero in their hearts thousands of years ago. Like Reshiram in the Wish World, Zekrom can also communicate with people through telepathy. The two fought with Reshiram in reality. After the war, Zekrom returned to the state of Dragonstone and was sealed in a cave in the earth. In the movie, Zekrom and Reshiram together transmitted the power of the dragon vein to the Sword of the Earth and led the Sword of the Earth to the ground. Why did this elf who pursues ideals in the Wish World appear in an unknown person? Seeing Zumyu was lost in thought, the masked man wanted to say something. Just when he opened his mouth, it was a clear sky, but suddenly a bolt of lightning struck. It landed right on the masked man's head. The masked man's body fell to the ground. Seeing the masked man's body, Zumyu was unusually calm. He only heard him say coldly to a deserted place, "Friend, since you're here, come out. You are nothing but a nobody." Chapter 422 I will fight this fight. No, I will fight. As soon as Zumyu finished speaking, another lightning bolt came straight at Zumyu. But Zumyu was not the useless man like the masked man, and he came to the back in an instant. At this time, Zumyu had been successfully angered, and looked at a place where no one was with murderous eyes. He said to their friend, "This is not fun at all." Just as Zumyu finished speaking, a figure slowly walked out of the darkness, looked at Zumyu with a mocking face, and said to Zumyu, "Boy, before asking my name, shouldn't you report your name? Let me see who caused such a big loss to our Hunters Guild." Zumyu smiled disdainfully when he heard his words, and then looked at him coldly, and said calmly, "Are you the number 0 president that the masked man mentioned?" Zumyu's words made the fool smile, and he said to Zumyu very formally, "Let me introduce myself. As the number 0 president of the Hunters Guild, you can call me the fool. Now, can I introduce yourself?" After speaking, he looked at Zumyu expectantly. Zumyu saw the fool's expression and sneered, then said, "I'm so sorry, I usually don't tell my name to the dying. I'm afraid he will complain to the King of Hell about me in the underworld." As he said that, he looked at the fool with a mocking look. Hearing Zumyu's words, the fool's face changed, and there was a faint expression of anger on his face. Just a moment, the fool put on a polite smile again. He smiled faintly and said, "Sir, you can say that you are very arrogant, but you can also see that you are not polite at all." As soon as the voice fell, the fool shouted, "Zekrom, 100,000 volts!" Only to see a gray-black elf jumped up from behind the fool, surrounded by yellow lightning, and rushed straight towards Zumyu. Zumyu is not a fool. As early as the fool appeared, he told Arceus to be ready. When Zekrom appeared, he put a protection on Zumyu. At this time, Zumyu also directly moved behind Arceus and smiled disdainfully at Zekrom who was coming towards him. Although Zekrom was highly regarded in the original world, it was just an ordinary elf to Zumyu. Lugia, who had been eager to try, flew out instantly and fired a water cannon at Zekrom. Zekrom didn't notice him at all. Lugia's attack was extremely abrupt in his eyes. He was hit on the spot and then flew backwards. Zumyu saw this scene and his thoughts surged. As an electric elf, Zekrom has a natural restraint against Lugia. On the surface, Most people would think that Lugia can't beat Zekrom, but in Zumu's eyes, he is not so sure. Otherwise, Zumu is the protagonist, with a natural protagonist halo. In this battle, Zumu believes that Lugia can use his strength to overcome the disadvantages brought by the reverse attribute. After all, Zumu is a proper protagonist template, and encountering such a battle is a small matter. The fool on the side was extremely shocked when he saw Lugia, and his pupils shrank slightly. He finally understood why the boy in front of him was so arrogant. Who would not be arrogant if he had a Lugia? At this moment, Greninja also jumped out. At the same time, Zumu's Pokémon burst out of the Pokeball one after another. Greninja hurriedly said to Zumu, "Cool, Master, let me go. I haven't exercised for a long time." When Lugia, who had just output to Zekrom, heard Greninja's words, he said anxiously, "Frog, you can't steal my monster. I came first." "Cool, Luofeng, you are a bit too much." "Who said that you can steal monsters just by seeing them?" Dragonite, who had just jumped out of the Pokeball, asked Charizard with a questioning look on his face. "Yo, old Charizard, why don't you go?" Looking at the scene in front of him, Charizard said disdainfully, "Fighting is the most annoying thing. What if I get injured? It's so troublesome to treat it." Zumu heard the conversation between Charizard and Dragonite, and patted his forehead helplessly. It would be great if all these things were like Charizard. Before Zumu could let go of his thoughts, he heard Lugia say to Greninja, "I, Luofeng, am a legendary beast after all, but what have I done? I have been a mount for such a long time, why can't you not snatch it from me?" Luofeng's words were just right, directly blocking the mouths of the two Mewtwo, leaving them speechless. Greninja saw that Luofeng was about to cry at this time, and felt a little reluctant in his heart, so he said to Luofeng, "Cool, okay, I'll give it to you this time, but don't snatch it again next time." After that, he went straight back to the Pokeball. The remaining Pokémon saw that there was nothing for them to do, and followed Greninja back to the Pokeball. Seeing Zumu's hesitation, the fool said impatiently, "Over there, do you want to fight or not? If not, kneel down and apologize to me. If I'm in a good mood, I can spare your life. Hand over all your elves." As he said that, before he finished speaking, he shouted to Zekrom, "Zekrom, cross lightning." Hearing the words of the fool, Zekrom, who had just flown backwards, ran back instantly, shining with black and blue lightning, and attacked Lugia. But the current Lugia is no longer the same as before. After Zumu's strengthening, Lugia's strength has increased a lot. Clearing his mind, Zumu said to Lugia, "Lugia, air blast." Lugia flew up instantly, and a cyclone rushed out from the ground and rushed towards Zekrom. Unlike Lugia, who is good at moving, Zekrom couldn't avoid this attack at all. He could only watch the cyclone hit him. Zekrom was a little angry at this time. He instantly entered the overclocking drive mode, releasing powerful electricity from his tail, which gathered into a beam of electricity and flew towards Lugia. Zumu, who was standing behind, felt ridiculous when he saw Lugia being suddenly attacked by this beam of electricity. He knew that this was Zekrom's famous skill, the staggered lightning, but the Lugia strengthened by Zumu was no longer the same as before. After sorting out his thoughts, in order to prevent Lugia from getting hurt, Zumu said to Celebi next to him, "You have to keep an eye on it. If Lugia has any injuries, even if it's just a split fingernail, you must treat it for me." Chapter 423, Fool, that's it, Rabbi. Leave it to me, Zumu. Celebi waved her hands happily, indicating that she had no problem. Milk, the amount is definitely enough. At this time, Lugia, who was targeted by Zekrom, subconsciously felt that the power of Zekrom's attack was indeed extraordinary. Lugia dodged Zekrom's attack with a flash. Lugia, air blast. Zumu saw Lugia avoid the attack by himself, and then hurriedly shouted. Hearing Zumu's command, Lugia did not hesitate at all, controlling the energy in his body and began to attack, and then air blades appeared around him. Lugia flapped his wings, and the air blades around him flew towards Zekrom with a sound of breaking through the air. Feeling Lugia's attack, Zekrom wanted to escape, but his speed was not as fast as the blades. Poor Zekrom, he completely endured Lugia's attack. He was dizzy from being beaten. Then, Lugia seized the opportunity and slapped Zekrom with a wing attack. It must be said that poor Zekrom didn't react at all. He was hit on the head by Lugia's wings and fainted on the ground. The people present saw Zekrom being smashed to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Zekrom struggled and wanted to get up. Zumyu couldn't give him such an opportunity. He continued to command and let Lugia beat him madly. Lugia was also ruthless. He finally got the opportunity to fight this time. How could he be polite? For a while, the scene was full of feathers. Zekrom was beaten by Lugia without any ability to fight back and gradually fainted. With the assistance of Celebi, Lugia's side was completely double buffed and full of power. It's not tiring to go up to the 5th floor in one breath, wake up the fainted Zekrom alive and knock him unconscious. Zekrom, can you give me some face? Seeing that he had won, Lugia flew back to Zumyu. Zumyu chuckled and encouraged Lugia, saying, Lugia, you did a good job. I'll give you a chicken drumstick when we get back. Hearing Zumyu's words, Lugia immediately glanced at his trainer with disdain. Chicken drumstick, haha, you've got everything if you don't tried me twice, and I still need a chicken drumstick from you. Turning his eyes away from Lugia, Zumyu looked at the fool. The fool was a little confused at this time, although he knew that Zekrom was slightly worse than Lugia after the first trial confrontation. They were both mythical beasts, so how much difference could there be? Was the Lugia in front of him a little too easy to win? He kept thinking in his heart. He didn't notice Zumyu's gaze at all. Zumyu stared at the fool who was in a daze, smiled contemptuously, and said to the fool, Fool, it seems that your Zekrom is not very good. It was knocked out so easily? As he spoke, Zumyu's eyes gradually became unusually sharp. Where do you get the courage to attack our demon city? Hearing Zumyu's words, his face turned red. As one of the presidents of the Hunters Guild, in his heart, he had long regarded the Hunters Guild as more important than his own life. This ignorant boy in front of him actually dared to look down on the Hunters Guild and insulted his pride. This made him a little crazy, and he shouted at Zumyu, Boy, you don't know the power of our Hunters Guild at all. I tell you, you can look down on me, the fool, but you can't look down on our Hunters Guild. Do you know the strength of our guild? Our guild has destroyed so many parallel planes like you. You dared to insult us. I promise you will pay the price. I swear on my life. As he said that, the fool quickly took back Zekrom, turned around and ran to the back. When Zumyu saw his action, he was stunned. Didn't the fool just say fierce words with a fierce face? But how could he run to the back in an instant, saying the cruelest words and doing the most cowardly things? He was numb. Are all villains now so uncool? He silently ordered Lugia beside him, Since you're here, don't leave. Hearing Zumyu's words, Lugia instantly understood what he meant, and sent a cyclone towards the running fool, hitting the back of the fool directly. The fool, who wanted to run back quickly, didn't pay attention, only felt a pain in his back, lost consciousness on the spot, and died perfectly. At this time, in another world, in a deserted desert, a young man said to the people around him, The fool is dead. It seems that something unexpected happened. Another woman with a charming appearance said, We also felt it. The guy in that plane doesn't look simple. She smiled charmingly, and it seemed that she didn't care about the death of the fool at all. But another person said angrily beside him, Damn it, no matter who touches our Hunter Guild, he will definitely die. His words swept away the relaxed atmosphere of everyone just now. The young man who spoke first said to the others, Then let's go and see what kind of person can kill the fool. The seductive woman echoed, What the magician said makes sense. Let's go together this time. I have destroyed so many worlds, and this is the first time I have met someone who can defeat our 12 presidents. After that, the priestess sneered and looked at the young man she called the magician with a loving look. The others were indifferent to the two people singing and singing. They showed their affection. You get used to it after seeing it too much. On the other side, Zumyu saw that the fool was dead. He couldn't help but look at the fool's body with contempt and said, Is this the Hunter Guild? This is the fool who was praised by the people below. As he said, Zumyu turned around and cast his eyes on Zeraora. Feeling Zumyu's gaze, the electric cat's hair stood up at this time. He was really crying in his heart. Why hasn't he forgotten this devil yet? Originally, He was just an audience watching the show. How did he suddenly become the protagonist of the incident? Logia, you keep an eye on this electric cat, don't let it run away, or you won't come back. Hearing Zumiu's words, Logia was stunned. How did this make him look like a minion of a big villain? But after being stunned, he soon laughed. Villains are good. Minion is good. Only by being a villain can you live longer. Then, Logia looked at the electric cat with a fierce face. According to the boss, this is the basic quality of a villain's minion. As for the electric cat that was targeted, it was particularly collapsed at this time. I just came out for a stroll. I don't know why. I met a bunch of idiots, and they came up and beat me. I finally beat those idiots away, and now a big devil pops up, but the problem is, she can't beat this big devil! What should I do? Waiting online. It's urgent. Chapter 424, Subjugating the Electric Cat. You said run away now. Run away? Haha. He wanted to run too, but look at that Logia over there. What the hell? It's staring at him. What did I do to you? Why are you looking at me like that? What are you doing? How much money do I owe you? Electric cat was numb. He had a lot of pain in his heart, but he couldn't say it. Seeing Zumiu walking towards him step by step, Electric cat silently shouted in his heart, "Don't come over, don't come over." Unfortunately, things didn't go as he wished, and Zumiu still walked in front of him. Looking up and seeing this moment, Electric cat suddenly felt that he was going to die. Zoroaro, either follow me or you can't. Look at how you are now, always being bullied. As long as you follow me, I guarantee that no one can touch you. As he said that, Zumiu still had a little expectation in his heart. After all, electric cats are still relatively rare in this world. The electric cat is a spirit that can generate strong electric currents from the flesh balls of its hands and feet, thus creating a strong magnetic field. The power of this magnetic field can also allow it to float in the air and move at high speed. In the original world, it is said that its fastest speed can be comparable to the speed of lightning. Unlike ordinary electric attributes, there is no place in his body to generate electricity, but it is magical that he can absorb the free electric molecules in the air into his body for storage. He can also use it himself. Once a large amount of electric current is needed, the hair on his body will stand up. The electric cat is a particularly selfless elf. He always puts his life aside to help others. His ability is comparable to his extremely high endurance and can endure great pain, which is often unbearable for others. Another reason why the electric cat is rare may be that he always likes to live in seclusion in the wilderness and does not want to be disturbed by the outside world. Who can refuse a cat that always loves to explode? Of course, Zumiu can't refuse it. He also likes this cute little electric cat. Zumiu walked to his side, touched Zoroara's head, and smiled at Zoroara with a kind face. But this smile was not so friendly in Zoroara's eyes. He felt the smile of the devil. The frightened electric cat said to Zumiu, "Don't come over." "Yes, just stand there and talk to me." Hearing the fearful words of the electric cat, Zumiu felt more or less helpless. "Am I that kind of bad guy? Why are you getting more and more afraid of me? I'm not a villain. We don't need to be so serious." Zumiu cleared his mind and said to the electric cat, "Zoroaro, there is no need to be afraid of me. I'm a good person." After saying this, Zumiu was drunk himself. How could he give himself a good person card? At this time, the electric cat saw Zumiu's expression and muttered to himself, "It's over. It's useless. Is this devil going to kill me? I haven't lived enough. What if he kills me?" He doesn't use a knife to kill people. If the two things behind him rush up directly, I will be useless. Thinking about it, Dian Mao looked at Zumiu with a dull expression. Seeing the silly Dian Mao, Zumiu felt inexplicably happy. This little guy is so cute. He was killing everyone on the field just now, but now he is timid in front of me. It's like he has turned into an elf. Clearing his mind, Zumiu said to Dian Mao, "How about it? Have you made up your mind? Follow me." When Dian Mao heard Zumiu's words, an idea flashed through his mind. In fact, it is not a bad thing to follow this devil, but if so, wouldn't it make me, Zoroaro, look very embarrassed? Thinking of this, Zoroara said to Zumiu, "I can follow you, but at least you have to give me some reasons that you can lead me to a good life." Hearing this, Zumu laughed. This Dayanmao looked timid, but he was a little arrogant. Okay, I didn't want to abuse him, but now that Dayanmao took the initiative to ask for abuse, Zumu can't be polite. Thinking of this, Zumu shouted to the one behind him, Lugia, this Zeraora wants to be beaten, you come and help him. When the electric cat heard this, he was shocked. This is not a good fight. It's not like he didn't see Lugia who dominated the battlefield just now. If he comes to fight now, isn't that king waiting to be beaten? No. Zeraora shouted loudly to Zumu, no, this one won't work, you change someone, I can't beat him. He hits people painfully. Hitting people painfully. But since the electric cat said so, Zumu agreed with him. So Zumu patted the Pokeball and called out Greninja directly. Then he said to Zeraora, Lugia's hitting people painfully. This frog is okay. He is so gentle. Lugia on the side heard this and looked at Greninja, with a big head full of small question marks. Greninja, hitting people doesn't hurt. Only you can fool Zeraora, a silly child. Did he know that Greninja was the Pokémon that grew up with Zumu, and was the retainer that Zumu's father sent to protect Zumu in the beginning? Now you tell me that he doesn't hurt people when he hits people, and we can fight him without worry, but get out of the way, Zumu, this old man, is very bad. Seeing Greninja, Electric Cat muttered to himself, this thing is good, I can't beat that Lugia, and I can't beat this little frog. Then I'll be called Frog from now on. And the name Zeraora is available to anyone. Thinking of this, Electric Cat said proudly, okay, this is it, I will fight him. Greninja, who was called out directly by Zumu, was still in a daze. Didn't he say that he would not fight anymore? Let Lugia beat him, so that he could stretch his body. Why did he call him out again? Thinking of this, Greninja looked at Zumu and said, cool, master. What's the matter with you calling me out? Is Lugia no longer good? I've said that according to Lugia's soft character, no one can beat him, so he can only be your mount. Lugia on the side heard what Greninja said, and his head was instantly full of black lines. Good guy, no matter what, I am also a divine beast, how come I am just a vase in the eyes of this frog? Lugia said to Greninja dissatisfiedly, stinky frog. I am so unbearable in your eyes. I am also a divine beast after all. Where do you put me? I tell you, just that broken dragon just now, I solved him in a few seconds. Greninja laughed when he heard this. Cool, are you bragging to me, with your half-catty and aids too? I don't know what's going on. Zumu couldn't listen to it anymore after hearing this. Wait a little longer, these two Pokémon will definitely fight. He quickly said, that's enough. That's enough. Shut up, be quiet, I told you to come out and fight, why are you yelling? Upon hearing this, Greninja instantly laughed. Excited heart, trembling hands, are they going to fight right away? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.